It was all because of a careless remark I made. I told her if she stood in the rain for 3 days and 3 nights, without sleeping, eating, or drinking, I would behave for 2 days and stop tormenting myself. So Chloe Sterling, ignoring her already bruised and battered body, stood in the downpour for an entire night. The next day, my eyes flew open. I bolted downstairs and swept the woman into my arms. She looked up at me, drenched by the rain, and coldly instructed the butler, "Take the young master back to his room." I frowned. "What about you?" The woman lowered her head. "There are still 12 hours left. We're not doing this anymore. I'll stay by your side from now on." Chloe fought through her discomfort and once again ordered the butler, "Take the young master to his room." I stepped forward and took her hand. "Let's go inside together. You're hurt. I'll treat your wounds." Chloe tried to push me away heartlessly, but I wrapped an arm around her waist, pulled her into my embrace, and lowered my head to kiss her red lips. But Chloe shoved me away forcefully, her voice cold. "Don't think this will make me give up. There are only 12 hours left. I won't quit." Pushed away, I froze for a moment, then pressed close to her again. Chloe pushed me away once more. "Can you stop playing games?" I stubbornly moved in again. Every time she pushed, I closed the distance, until she finally stopped pushing and collapsed weakly into my arms. "I want you to carry me to my room. I want you to sleep with me," Chloe sobbed, her voice soft and choked with tears. My heart ached. I lifted her into my arms and carried her into the house, step by step. The moment we were inside, I set her down. Chloe's body was covered in injuries, and holding her like that would only cause her more pain. I couldn't bear to see her hurt anymore. Chloe looked at me, her eyes darkening. She thought I didn't want any physical contact with her, that my earlier intimacy was just a trick to make her give up. Chloe said coldly, "I'll go back out and stand. I'll make up for the full 24 hours. Quickly grabbed her hand. "You don't have to. I'm never leaving again." Chloe kept her head down. "Ethan, I won't give you a chance to back out. If you think 24 hours isn't enough, I'll start over and stand for 3 days." As she spoke, Chloe shook my hand off and turned to leave. I lunged forward and wrapped my arms tightly around her from behind, pressing my face against her cheek. "Chloe, if you're going to stand, then we'll stand together." Chloe turned her head to look at me, as if trying to see right through me. She stared, waiting. She was waiting for me to lose my temper, to throw things at her, to curse her out, and then to take it all back and tell her to get lost. But the one thing she didn't expect was for me to pull her towards the bathroom and shut the door. "Take off your clothes." Chloe narrowed her eyes slightly. Wasn't he supposed to be throwing a tantrum? Why was he telling her to take off her clothes? I looked at the red dress she was wearing, completely soaked. "Are you going to take it off yourself, or should I help you?" Chloe didn't answer, just frowned at me. "Fine, I'll help you." I found her too slow, so I reached out to undo her buttons. I had only undone one when Chloe stopped my hand. Her face flushed as she asked, "Ethan, do you know what the consequences are for taking off a girl's clothes?" I tilted my head in thought, my fingers continuing to work on the buttons. "Probably that I'll have to take responsibility for you." She grabbed my restless hand, opened the door, and pushed me out. "I'll do it myself." The bathroom door slammed shut. I changed my clothes and went to the kitchen to make her a bowl of ramen. When Chloe came out of the shower in her bathrobe and saw the empty room, she froze for a second, and the fear of losing me instantly consumed her. She frantically called for her assistant, Sarah. Sarah heard her and came over immediately. Chloe asked in a cold voice, "Where is Ethan?" Sarah was stunned. "Isn't Mr. Vance in the room?" Chloe lost control. "Lock down every exit out of Newport Beach immediately. Send out all the bodyguards. Don't miss a single corner." Chloe flew down the stairs, and my displeased voice came from the left. "Where are you going?" Chloe turned to see me standing there in black shorts and a teddy bear apron, holding a bowl in my hands. I didn't leave. I walked up to her with the ginger tea and looked down to see her in a bathrobe without any shoes on. "Where were you rushing off to?" Chloe looked up to meet my gaze, feeling inexplicably guilty. She didn't dare to say that she thought I had run away. I held the ginger tea out to her. "Drink some of this to warm up first. I'm going to the kitchen to make you some ramen." Sarah wanted to stop her, but Chloe had already downed the ginger tea in one gulp. She glared at me. "If anything happens to Miss Sterling, I will never let you get away with it." It wasn't that Sarah thought the worst of me, but in the past, every time I brought Chloe something, she would get food poisoning or an upset stomach. It had also caused her to miss out on multiple business deals, costing the company at least tens of millions. I took the empty bowl. Even if it were poison, Chloe would drink it willingly, right? Because I am her poison, and also her only antidote. Chloe didn't speak, but simply nodded solemnly. Sarah watched me go back into the kitchen, extremely anxious. "Ms. Sterling, he nearly killed you. So what if he did? Chloe said, her eyes lowered, her icy voice tinged with a hint of softness. Sarah was frantic. But Chloe cut her off coldly. If you keep this up, you don't have to work for me anymore. Sarah had no choice but to shut her mouth and wait for the doctor to arrive to run a check. The doctor said, there are no signs of poisoning at the moment, but her wounds are festering. They need to be treated immediately. Sarah took the ointment. I'll apply it for Ms. Sterling. I came out with the bowl of ramen and interrupted. Don't you dare! Sarah's face fell. Mr. Vance, do you want Ms. Sterling to die of tetanus? I put the bowl down and snatched the ointment from Sarah's hand. My woman's body is not for others to see, and that includes you. Chloe looked up at me, her face full of disbelief. What did you say? I said, you are my woman. Even if it was a lie, Chloe savored this moment of tenderness. My tone sounded exactly like I was jealous. Sarah let out a cold laugh. What new way has Mr. Vance come up with to torment Miss Sterling now? Every time I tried to please her, it was either to run away or to steal a business secret from her. I had tried it countless times, and Chloe's voice grew heavy. I ignored her and instead took note of everything the doctor said. I sat across from Chloe and deliberately drew out my words. Hurry up and eat your ramen. After you finish, I'll put the medicine on for you. Chloe glanced at me, then lowered her head and ate her ramen quietly. I didn't rush her, just watched her with an infatuated gaze. Chloe ate elegantly, yet she still looked so cool and reserved, so beautiful it made you want to pounce on her. Chloe was so beautiful. How could I have been so blind before? Chloe felt my burning gaze, but she didn't dare to look up, afraid of breaking the momentary ambiguous atmosphere. When I stood up, she abruptly looked up and asked nervously, "Where are you going?" I walked to her side and took her hand. "After you finish your ramen, we'll go apply the medicine." I covered her mouth. The doctor said no strenuous exercise, so we can only apply medicine. As long as you're good, I'll. As I spoke, I placed a light, fleeting kiss on her lips. The softness of that moment left Chloe a little dizzy. By the time she came to her senses, I had already pulled her back to the room. I reached out and untied her bathrobe, revealing a back full of scars. The wounds had festered from being in the rain, and the sight of them made my heart ache. "Chloe, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault." This time, I had given the Willow Creek proposal to Isabella Hayes, causing Chloe's deal to fall through and lose a $100 million project. Old man Sterling wanted to call the police on me, but Chloe was determined to protect me, which led to her being beaten like this. "Don't worry, I'll get that money back the same way I gave it away." Chloe's voice was faint. "It's okay." I felt even more heartbroken and guilty. I carefully applied the ointment with my fingertips, and Chloe frowned slightly. Ethan was actually putting medicine on her, and so gently. She thought I would have thrown the medicine away, since I wished she were dead. After I finished applying the ointment, I asked, "Are there any other wounds that need medicine?" Chloe paused, and her thumb, resting on the blanket, twitched slightly. "No, that's all." I noticed this detail and snorted. "Are you sure you're not lying to me?" She was a terrible liar in front of me. Whenever she lied, her thumb would move involuntarily. It was a detail I had spent a long time discovering in my past life. I raised an eyebrow. "Are you going to tell me, or am I going to pull down your pants?" My voice was filled with a domineering arrogance. Chloe looked up at me, and a suspicious blush crept onto her frosty face. Seeing her shy was amusing. I spoke like a rogue. "What's there to be shy about? I'll see it sooner or later anyway." As I spoke, my gaze traveled down and I saw a whip mark partially hidden by the edge of her underwear. Where was she hurt? No wonder Dr. Evans said to avoid strenuous activity. Chloe saw my hand reaching out and turned away to avoid it. "There's nothing." Seeing her about to leave, I said deliberately, "I was thinking tonight we could." Before I could finish, a shadow fell over me, and the next moment, I was tackled by Chloe. She sat on top of me, her eyes filled with dissatisfaction. She looked at me, her red lips parting slightly. "Then you're not allowed to run away. When I'm healed, we'll..." Before she could finish, I cut her off. "Go put on the medicine, then come to bed." She hadn't slept for 3 days and 2 nights, and she needed to recover her strength. "You're so slow. I'll just help you. I'm going to see it eventually anyway." My bold words made Chloe blush and turn away again. "No need." With that, she grabbed the ointment and hurried into the bathroom. Seeing her blush all the way to her ears as she fled, I couldn't help but chuckle. Chloe was actually quite cute when she was shy. When Chloe came out after applying the medicine, the blush on her face was gone, replaced by her usual cool, reserved, and noble expression. But when she stood in front of me, she pouted her lips pitifully and said, "I'm scared of thunder. Sleep with me." Chloe's gaze flickered as she looked at me. "Ethan, Don't even think about running away. I knew she wouldn't believe me right away, so I didn't explain. I just took her hand and led her to the bed. Chloe lay down with her back to me. I moved closer and wrapped my arms around her from behind. The moment I held her, Chloe's body tensed up. "Ethan, the more you act like this, the less I'll ever let go," she said, her voice so cold it made one shiver. I intertwined my fingers with hers. "Then I'll never let go, not even in death, not for all of eternity." I pressed my face close to hers and said warmly, "Please, trust me one more time, okay? Trust me this time, and I'll give you a world that belongs only to us." Chloe could withstand my cold shoulder and all my self-destructive antics, but she couldn't resist my vulnerability. After all, this was exactly what she wanted. Her voice softened as she replied, "I believe you." I moved closer to Chloe. "Thank you for believing in me this time. I will never let you down." Neither of us spoke again. Chloe greedily savored this fleeting moment of happiness, and I didn't want to break the dreamlike reality. I knew she didn't truly believe me, but I would prove it to her with my actions. After a while, I fell asleep. Chloe gently caressed my cheek, placed a light kiss on my lips, and whispered, "If tonight is a dream, then I'm willing to sleep in this dream forever." Pretending to be asleep, I heard her words, and my heart trembled. A sharp pain shot through my chest. In my past life, I had let her down in so many ways. After a long time, I gently nudged Chloe and whispered, "Chloe." After calling her name a few times with no response, I picked up my phone from the nightstand and saw 8 missed calls from Ms. Hayes. I looked at the contact name and sneered. Isabella Hayes wasn't the person I was looking for at all. She had deceived me so badly. I changed the contact name for Isabella, and just as I finished, her call came in. I answered the call, glancing at the sleeping Chloe. "Isabella, what's up this late?" Isabella ordered. "Come to the Monarch Lounge, private room 316. I have a business dinner, and you need to drink for me." A slight smile touched my lips. "Okay." When I first returned to the Vance family from the countryside, I was ostracized by everyone. Only Isabella helped me, which moved me deeply, so naturally, I listened to her. I thought it was love, but in reality, her kindness had a purpose. She wanted to use me to seize the Vance family's assets. This time, Isabella's invitation to the Monarch Lounge was just a setup to sell me to a 50-year-old woman in exchange for a $100 million deal. In my past life, if Chloe hadn't saved me, I would have lost my life. I hung up the phone, a ruthless glint in my eyes. "Since I know what a venomous person you are, this time, I'll make sure you get what you deserve." With that, I glanced at Chloe. She was sleeping soundly, and I smiled with satisfaction. I did a few things on my phone, masking my number with a virtual one, and then dialed 911. I pinched my throat to lower my voice. "Hello, I'd like to report illegal prostitution in room 1602 of the Grand Lotus Hotel." After reporting to the police, I made another call. The Hayes family's daughter, who is engaged to the Vance family, is conducting an illegal transaction at the Grand Lotus Hotel. I was confident that news about Isabella would be trending for at least half a month. After changing my clothes, I stood by the bed, looking at the sleeping Chloe. I reached out and stroked her cheek. "Chloe, I have to leave for a bit. I'll definitely be back before dawn. Wait for me." I needed to break off my engagement with Isabella as quickly as possible, so I could be with Chloe legitimately. The moment the door closed, the sleeping Chloe's eyes opened, her cold irises gradually turning crimson. She knew I was pretending to be asleep, knew I was coaxing her just for a chance to leave. Even though I kissed her before I left to make her happy, she just loved it when Ethan coaxed her like this. Even if he was lying, she still loved it. She touched her lips and picked up her phone to call Sarah. "Ethan has left. Follow him." Sarah was stunned, then delighted. "Miss Sterling, have you finally seen the light?" Before she could finish, Chloe's cold voice cut her off. "Tell Ethan, block every exit from Newport Beach, and wait for my orders before dawn." She hung up after speaking. She closed her eyes, hiding the spirit and pain within them. "Ethan, you said this was the last time I should trust you. I did trust you, but I hope you won't disappoint me again." Sarah was still puzzled when she saw me coming down. She put out a hand to block me. "Mr. Vance, you can't go out." Although Miss Sterling had said to let me pass, she still had to put on a show of stopping me. I gave her a direct order. "Send someone to the Monarch Lounge and beat the person inside. Better yet, make it so she can't get out of bed for the rest of her life." Sarah paused. "You're not going out?" "I am. You're coming with me to the Grand Lotus Hotel. I want to see with my own eyes how Isabella gets caught." Sarah looked up at the second floor, a bit dazed. Miss Sterling hadn't said Mr. Vance wanted her to go with him. I raised an eyebrow. "Bring the bodyguards with us. That way you won't have to worry about me running away." Sarah laughed awkwardly. No, of course not. Ms. Sterling still trusts you. I glanced at the second floor out of the corner of my eye. A figure moved behind the curtain. I knew Chloe was watching me. A notification chimed. Chloe picked up her phone. It was a voice message from me. Chloe, be good and sleep. Wait for me to come back. If you're not asleep, I'll get angry. If you sleep 1 hour less, I'll come back 1 hour later. If you sleep 1 hour more, I'll give you an extra kiss. The string of messages, in a tone like coaxing a child, made Chloe lower her guard. She lay down where I had been, resting her head on my pillow, which still held my scent. Sarah was driving and saw me talking on my phone, my voice gentle, like I was soothing a child. She sneered. Ms. Sterling isn't that easy to fool. She's hard to fool because the person trying isn't me. But I don't even need to fool her. All I have to do is give her a look, and she'd give up her life for me. That's my Chloe. Sarah sneered. So you just hurt Ms. Sterling without any restraint? I looked up at Sarah. I'll prove it to you with my actions. I will love her, spoil her, and protect her. Starting tonight, starting with destroying Isabella and breaking off the engagement. The Grand Lotus Hotel. As soon as Isabella hung up the phone, she snuggled into Julian Vance's arms, unable to keep her hands off his firm abs. Isn't this a bit unfair to Ethan? Isabella looked up and kissed his lips. What's unfair about it? It's his honor that someone is interested in him. Julian looked hesitant. I still feel bad. Ethan is my half-brother, after all. No buts. Ethan is just a poor kid from the countryside. The words had barely left her mouth when the door was suddenly kicked open. Isabella quickly hid under the covers, while Julian, startled, shivered all over. He was probably going to be traumatized for life. Isabella roared, "Who is it? Don't move!" In an instant, a group of police officers rushed in and stood by the bed. Isabella clutched the blanket to cover herself. "What are you doing?" An officer showed his badge. "We received an anonymous tip about illegal activities here. Now, please get dressed and come with us." Isabella kept her head down. "You've got the wrong people, we know each other. And don't take pictures." The officer said, "Get dressed and show us your identification." Isabella looked up at the officer. "This face doesn't need an ID, and I don't need to submit to the law." The officer found Isabella very familiar. Wasn't this the Hayes family's daughter who had just publicly announced her engagement to the Vance family? Isabella impatiently took her ID from the nightstand drawer. The officer took it, made a note, and then pointed to Julian on the bed. "And his?" Isabella smiled. "He's my fiancé." As she spoke, Isabella took a stack of cash from her purse. "Just a little something for you guys to get some late-night snacks. We absolutely can't go to the station, or it'll leave a record, which would be bad for both me and Julian." The officer's face immediately darkened. "This is blatant bribery. Get dressed quickly and come with us." Isabella tried to stuff the money into his hand, but the officer pulled out handcuffs and cuffed her. "Hurry up, both of you. Come to the station to cooperate with the investigation." Julian struggled. "We know each other. It's not a transaction." The officer glanced at Julian, thinking he looked a bit familiar, but still said officially, "Get dressed and come with us to cooperate with the investigation." Julian had no choice but to get out from under the covers. Click, click. Camera flashes went off. Julian looked up to see a group of paparazzi standing at the door, snapping pictures of them furiously. "Don't take pictures. Don't take pictures," he yelled, covering his groin and face. The paparazzi were having a field day. The Hayes family's daughter had just gotten engaged to Ethan a month ago, and now she was cheating on him with his own brother. Plus, Julian was a rising star in the entertainment industry. This news was explosive. Downstairs in the open-air parking lot, I was tapping away on my laptop. Sarah stared at the hotel entrance. "Sir, they're coming out." I looked up to see Isabella and Julian in handcuffs, being escorted out by police, with the paparazzi restlessly taking pictures. I smirked. "Go down and tell the paparazzi that no matter how much Isabella offers, they're not to sell the photos. Upload them directly." Sarah looked at me in surprise. "You're really going to destroy her?" She thought, "Isn't Isabella Ethan's fiancée? Didn't Ethan used to be willing to die for Isabella? Today he was being so ruthless. Calling the police, having the paparazzi take pictures, it was a direct move to ruin their reputations." I gave a faint Sarah shook her head. This man was truly unpredictable. After the police car left, Sarah got out of the car to talk to the paparazzi, even offering double the price to make sure the news blew up as much as possible. The paparazzi knew Sarah and thought to themselves, "It seems Isabella has offended Miss Sterling." When Sarah finished her business and got back in the car, I had just closed my laptop. She asked, "Mr. Vance, can we go back now? Miss Sterling is still waiting for you." Did your people beat up the person I told you about? Yes, Mr. Vance. It's been done. You can go back first. Leave the car for me. I'm going to the police station. As soon as Sarah heard that, her guard went up. Mr. Vance, was everything before just an act to run away? I looked up at her. Did you forget Chloe's orders? Sarah was at a loss for words. Well, Mr. Vance should also remember that no one can escape Miss Sterling's grasp. I waited in the car for half an hour before finally getting a call from Isabella. Isabella ordered me in a commanding tone, "Ethan, come to the police station and bail me out." My voice was faint. Okay. I drove to the police station myself. Under the sympathetic gazes of the officers, I didn't ask a single question, just paid the bail, went through the procedures and got Isabella and Julian out. My silence, however, made Julian very uneasy. "Brother, aren't you going to ask anything?" I said faintly, "It doesn't matter. My father, Marcus Vance, had married into the family. Julian was his illegitimate son, so he shared his last name, but he lived with the Vance family. In my past life, Julian was very good to me. After he found out that the woman who took me away was Chloe, he even helped me escape. He was the best brother in the world. But being reborn, I realized just how hypocritical Julian was. Perhaps he and his father were the ones who killed my mother and cousin in my past life." Isabella had no intention of explaining. "Julian, don't bother explaining to him. We did nothing wrong. She despised me for being an ugly, poorly dressed poor kid. If it weren't for the Vance family's fortune, she wouldn't even spare me a glance, let alone get engaged to me. Just the thought of her fiancé being such an incredibly ugly man made her sick." Julian looked out the window as the car went further and further off course and felt something was wrong. "Brother, this isn't the way home. Where are you taking us?" I smiled as I drove. "I'm taking you to meet someone. You'll know when we get there." Julian watched the scenery flash by outside, feeling very uneasy. "Brother, are you taking us to see that woman?" Isabella's face darkened. Although she disliked me and thought being engaged to me was a shameful and disgusting affair, she knew I was living with a senior executive from Willow Creek Incorporated, and she had used this connection to make me get the project proposal for her. Julian felt something was wrong. "Brother, I don't want to meet them. I want to go home." My voice was faint. "We're almost there." The car was silent, and Julian felt like he was suffocating. I was driving very fast. Towards the end, there were no other cars on the road, and I started to speed up. Julian's heart was in his throat. Isabella cursed angrily. "Are you trying to get us killed, driving this fast? Stop the car." I turned a deaf ear and kept driving. 15 minutes later, I parked the car and opened the door. Isabella and Julian were already carsick and immediately squatted by the roadside to vomit as soon as they got out. After vomiting for a while, Isabella looked up and rows of tombstones came into view. A dark shadow flew past, scaring Isabella so much that she threw herself into Julian's arms, her already pale face turning even whiter. Julian looked up and also gasped. He held the trembling Isabella and yelled at me, "Are you crazy? Bringing us to a cemetery in the middle of the night?" This was Hillside Memorial Park. As far as the eye could see, there were only tombstones and black and white photos. In the middle of the night, the atmosphere was so eerie that even with two people clinging to each other, it was still terrifying. Especially the dark shadows that occasionally flew overhead, which looked like crows, but also like ghosts. Julian held Isabella tightly. "We want to go home." She had just opened her mouth when I grabbed her by the hair. "Ethan, what are you doing? Let go of me." Isabella came to her senses, immediately grabbed Julian, and yelled at me, "What's wrong with you? Let go of Julian. Let go." I glanced at her, then kicked Isabella to the ground. It happened so fast that she was caught off guard and fell. I dragged Julian deeper into the cemetery. Julian never expected me to go crazy tonight. He was being dragged by his clothes like a dog. Isabella got up from the ground and tried to follow. "Ms. Hayes, please stay where you are." Two tall figures appeared from behind and blocked Isabella. "Who are you? Get out of the way." I heard her voice but didn't turn back. "Don't hit her. Let her follow. Otherwise, it won't be fun." I knew Sarah had been tailing me, and these two were my bodyguards. Julian forgot his pretense. "You lunatic. Let go." Despite Julian's struggles, I dragged him in front of a tombstone. On the tombstone was a gentle and elegant woman, her eyes full of kindness. It was engraved with, "In loving memory of our dear mother, Lillian Vance, from her devoted son, Ethan Vance." I held Julian and made him look at the tombstone. "Mom, I brought him here to atone for his sins." With that, I kicked Julian's shin, and with a thud, he fell hard to his knees in front of the tombstone. I pushed Julian's head down, forcing him to kowtow hard on the ground. After 3 loud thuds, Julian's forehead was scraped and bleeding. He saw stars. "Ethan, you're freaking crazy. In the middle of the night, slap. I raised my hand and slapped Julian hard across the face. The slap was so hard that Julian's face was knocked to the side, and he was about to explode with anger. I grabbed his neck and forced him to look up at me. Those 3 kowtows were for your mother. Go back and tell her to wash her neck. I'm coming for her life to avenge my mother. Julian was lifted up, his already pale face now turning purplish. And another thing, don't mess with me, or I'll kill you. After I said that, I let go, and Julian collapsed to the ground, coughing painfully. I had almost choked him to death. In that moment, he truly felt that Ethan was going to kill him. And in that moment, he became afraid of me. I left Julian and walked towards Isabella. She was blocked by the bodyguards and could only scream, "Ethan, what's wrong with you? Julian is your brother, and you hit him like that. Are you even human?" If she hadn't spoken, I would have almost forgotten about her. I walked up to her and looked down. "You like Julian?" Isabella didn't speak, just looked up at me. She could clearly see the spots on my face, the pitted acne scars, and my sallow skin. Except for my eyes, which were particularly beautiful, the rest of my features put together were just plain ugly. Isabella looked at the 2 tall bodyguards and smiled hypocritically. "Julian is your brother. I was just helping him. The one I like is you." She couldn't show her disgust for me yet, not before she got her hands on my shares. I chuckled. "You like me?" Isabella put on a gentle expression. "Yes, I like you. What happened with Julian was a misunderstanding. Stop making a scene and take us back." Isabella suddenly remembered something. "By the way, Ethan, why didn't you go to the Monarch Lounge?" I sneered. If I had gone to the Monarch Lounge, who knows where I'd be buried by now. At this point, I looked at the now much more sober Julian and pointed at Isabella. "You go and strip her naked, and I'll let you both go." Julian said, "No way." I raised an eyebrow and ordered the 2 bodyguards, "Strip them both naked, and then we'll go back." Julian roared, "Ethan, you're insane. How could you do this?" I looked up at him, my voice cold. "Either you strip Isabella, or you both get stripped. For the sake of us being half-brothers, you choose." I gave a single look, and the tall bodyguards immediately made their move. Julian was weak in front of them. Before he could even react, he was grabbed, with no chance to struggle. "Ethan, what are you doing?" I ignored his shouts, just watching the scene with cold eyes. I had said that everything would start with destroying Isabella and Julian, and I would absolutely not go easy on them. Rip. Julian's shirt was torn open, and he finally gave in, shouting, "I'll do it. Let me go." With a look from me, the bodyguards immediately released Julian. Isabella was paralyzed with fear on the ground. When she looked up and saw Julian walking towards her, her eyes widened. "Julian, what are you doing?" I stood to the side, quietly filming the scene with my phone. Julian's shirt was open as he walked towards Isabella step by step, while she sat on the ground, scooting backwards in fear. The scene looked like she was about to be assaulted by a villain. "Julian, don't come any closer. You can't do this. He's recording." Tears of fear welled up in Isabella's eyes, making her look even more pitiful. Julian was hesitant to do it, but when he looked back at the 2 menacing bodyguards, he gritted his teeth and reached for Isabella's clothes. "Julian, let go of me." Isabella immediately started to struggle, scratching Julian's face with her nails. Thinking about the terrible idea Isabella had come up with tonight, Julian felt extremely frustrated. Now he just slapped her hard across the face. "It's not like I haven't been with you before. You're already used goods, so stop pretending to be innocent." Isabella never expected him to say such a thing and was both hurt and angry. "Julian, you bastard." Julian saw that both of her cheeks were red and swollen. He knew that to take over Vance Enterprises, he still needed Isabella's help, so he couldn't afford to offend her. "Don't be angry. I'm doing this for our own good. It wouldn't look good if we both got stripped naked." As Julian spoke, he leaned in and whispered in her ear, "Let's just go along with him for now, and we'll find a chance to deal with him later. Then we can live without a care in the world, and the entire Vance Enterprises will be ours." My face grew colder. "Julian, are you going to strip her or not? Or do you want to start flirting and put on a show that's not suitable for children?" My icy voice sent a chill down Julian's spine. He then ripped Isabella's dress with a forceful tug. The bodyguards covered their faces and didn't even look. She was used goods, nothing worth seeing. Isabella crossed her arms over her chest, trembling like a pitiful creature. "Ethan, is that enough?" I said coldly. "Continue. Strip her naked." Julian looked up at me angrily. "You!" But before he could say more, he saw the 2 bodyguards move. Julian immediately laughed it off. "Don't interrupt me." Isabella looked at him in disbelief. "Julian, you can't do this." As a popular rising star, Julian didn't want to be the one getting stripped. So no matter how much Isabella cried and screamed, He was quick and efficient, stripping away her last piece of clothing. Isabella curled up into a ball, sobbing intermittently. Julian looked up at me and said, "Is this okay? My dear brother, for the sake of our past relationship, please let us go." He then moved to grab my hand, but I deftly avoided him. I looked coldly at the fawning Julian, who was truly disgusting. I ordered, "Strip him too and take their clothes." When Julian heard this, his face changed drastically. The two bodyguards heard the order and blocked his path. Julian looked at the tall, imposing bodyguards and felt a chill of fear. Without a word, one of the bodyguards punched Julian hard in the stomach. Then, the sound of tearing clothes came from behind me. I didn't even turn my head, not wanting to sicken myself. Back in the car, Sarah was already in the driver's seat. "Mr. Vance." Sarah couldn't help but stare at me, as if she suddenly didn't recognize me. "Are you going anywhere else?" There was a hint of displeasure in my eyes. "Straight home." My voice was so cold that it felt to Sarah like icicles were falling into her ears. The man who only knew how to run away and act like a lunatic actually had such a powerful presence, rivaling even Miss Sterling's, which was intimidating. I returned to Sterling Estates, where the housekeeper, Amy, was dozing on the living room sofa. Hearing the noise, she groggily opened her eyes, then they widened as she stared at me. Ethan was actually back. I asked, "Has Chloe come downstairs?" Amy was so surprised she shook her head repeatedly. "Miss Sterling has been upstairs the whole time. She hasn't even left her room." I smiled. "Such a good girl." Amy watched my back as I went upstairs. My tone was just like coaxing a child. I stood by the bed, looking at Chloe, who seemed to be sound asleep with her eyes closed. I lifted the covers, lay down, and gently hugged her from behind. A faint smile touched my lips. "Chloe, I'm back." Chloe definitely wasn't asleep. Just because I had told her to be good and stay in bed, she, the Chloe who cherished me more than her own life, had obeyed. Her body was stiff, even trembling slightly. She didn't open her eyes, afraid that if she did, Ethan would disappear. As long as she was asleep, Ethan would come back. I held Chloe tightly, feeling her warmth, which was very reassuring and made me feel safe. But she didn't speak or move, her body remaining rigid, while her temperature kept rising. I felt something was wrong and turned her body to face me. "Chloe, I'm back. Open your eyes and look at me." Chloe's eyes were shut tight, she just wouldn't open them. I placed my hand on her forehead. Her temperature was alarmingly high. Looking at her face, it was flushed red, as if it were about to bleed. She had a high fever, quickly called Sarah. "Chloe has a high fever. Call Dr. Evans." After hanging up, I was about to get a wet towel to cool her down. But the moment I moved, Chloe grabbed my hand tightly. The heat from her hand was also shocking. "Ethan, don't go." I raised my hand to stroke her eyebrows, the high fever making my own heart ache. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm just getting a towel." Chloe kept her eyes closed, holding onto my hand tightly. "Ethan, I was a good girl and went to sleep. Don't go." Her voice was low, without the chilling coldness it had when she was awake. I coaxed her softly. "I'm not leaving. Be good and let go. I'm just going to wring out a wet towel. Don't go." The unconscious Chloe still wouldn't let go. I continued to soothe her in a low voice. When Sarah came in and saw this, she couldn't help but glance at the dark night outside. Was the sun going to rise in the west tomorrow? That must be why Ethan was coaxing Miss Sterling so gently. I looked up at her. "What are you standing there for? Go get some water and help me bring Chloe's fever down." Sarah snapped out of it and quickly went to get a wet towel. I had just placed it on Chloe's forehead when the doctor arrived. I immediately took the thermometer, put it under Chloe's arm, and removed the towel from her forehead. Sarah quickly reached out to take it. I replaced the towel on Chloe's forehead and then took out the thermometer, 103.1 degrees. Seeing the high temperature, I sucked in a breath, a strange sour feeling in my heart. Dr. Evans took medicine from his bag and mocked me. "Isn't this what you wanted? You wished Miss Sterling were dead anyway." Indeed, it wasn't the first time I had tormented Chloe until she got sick. Since moving into Sterling Estates, Chloe had been taking sleeping pills every day, otherwise she couldn't sleep. I frowned. "She's unconscious. I can't wake her up." I thought for a moment. I had told Chloe to be good and sleep, and I would come back early. She probably hypnotized herself to sleep. When I left Sterling Estates, she probably couldn't sleep, but because of my words, she had to, so she hypnotized herself. It looked like she was sleeping, but it was just self-hypnosis. Dr. Evans understood. Her injuries are too severe, and she was in the rain for so long. The self-induced coma caused the fever. Let's give her some fever reducer first and check on her in an hour. Dr. Evans looked at the unconscious Chloe with difficulty. "You can't wake someone from a self-induced coma." If she doesn't wake up, she can't take the medicine. Sarah was also worried. Miss Sterling has done this before, and it's very hard to wake her up. I thought for a moment and said coldly, Chloe, if you don't wake up, I'm leaving. It's self-hypnosis. You could beat a drum next to her ear and she wouldn't wake up. You think you can wake her with just one sentence? Dr. Evans hadn't finished speaking when he saw the unconscious Chloe slowly open her eyes. Sarah was silent for a moment. That was a quick turnaround. Chloe opened her eyes and stared straight at me. She didn't speak. In her eyes, I was like a reflection in the water, disappearing with a single touch. I helped her sit up against the bed to take the medicine. She frowned at the pills in my palm. Dr. Evans said, Ms. Sterling can't stand bitter tastes. She won't take it like this. I looked at Chloe. Be a good girl and take your medicine, and I'll give you some candy. She's not a child. You can't just coax her into. Dr. Evans was cut off again as he was proven wrong. Chloe took the medicine without a change in expression, not even drinking any water, and stared straight at me. I chuckled, then leaned in and kissed her lips, prying them open with the tip of my tongue. Chloe's whole body stiffened, and then she gently pushed me away. She was sick and afraid of passing it on to me. I wasn't angry, but instead smiled and asked her, was it sweet? Chloe nodded lightly, then seemed to feel her reaction was too cold. Sweet, the sweetest candy I've ever had. I brought her some water. Then drink this and lie down to sleep. When you wake up, I'll give you more candy. My tone was really like coaxing a child, but as long as I was the one coaxing, Chloe accepted it all. So she obediently took her medicine, drank her water, and lay down under the covers. Under the blanket, she pinched her thigh hard. The pain spread through her limbs. It was real pain. Ethan hadn't left, so this wasn't a dream. Chloe held my hand tightly. Ethan, no matter what you do, I will never let you leave. If you keep running away, then, she paused, her voice even colder, I will not spare Julian and Isabella. I smiled and tucked her in. When you're better, I'll deal with them with you. The Vance family was now controlled by my father, Marcus, and my stepmother. Even if Chloe didn't make a move, I would. Chloe didn't believe my words and pinched her thigh again. It wasn't an auditory hallucination. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. Close your eyes and sleep, or I'll get angry. Chloe closed her eyes, no longer wondering if my tenderness was real or fake, because even if it was fake, she would gladly accept it. Dr. Evans watched the continuous kisses and gentle words, completely stunned. He nudged Sarah's arm and whispered, is Ethan possessed by a ghost? Or is he just trying to get on Ms. Sterling's good side because he's after her beauty? While we were sleeping soundly, a storm was brewing online. The rising entertainment star Julian Vance was caught with a prostitute, and the Hayes family's daughter, Isabella Hayes, was caught cheating after her engagement, having an illicit late-night transaction with Julian. All sorts of scandalous photos and videos were uploaded to the internet, causing a massive online explosion. Meanwhile, the subjects of the scandal, Isabella and Julian, were squatting naked in a cemetery. Isabella cried and asked, didn't you say you would sweet-talk Ethan and then deal with him? Why are we the ones who got stripped and thrown here? After the two bodyguards stripped Julian, they took his clothes and left. Now they didn't have a single penny, and they would have to spend the night naked in the eerie cemetery. Julian was even more agitated than Isabella. Who knows what's gotten into Ethan today? It's fine, it'll be better tomorrow. Isabella wanted to throw a fit, but when she looked up and saw a dark shadow fly by with a harsh caw, she shivered in fear. Julian, we're definitely going to be discovered like this. We need to think about how to handle it tomorrow. The paparazzi had taken pictures of her and Julian at the hotel, and it was too late to buy them now. Julian was silent for a moment. We'll deal with it tomorrow. For now, let's figure out how to get out of here. If we don't leave now, we'll be completely exposed when we're found tomorrow. Should we try to walk? Julian frowned. Are we going to streak? Isabella thought for a moment. It was almost 10 kilometers from the cemetery to the suburbs. It was a long walk even with clothes, let alone without a single thing to cover themselves. Isabella and the others thought of many methods, but none were feasible. Finally, she gritted her teeth in frustration. He's so ruthless. A country boy just can't be presented in high society. Isabella hated him to death right now. As dawn broke, Isabella suddenly spoke. Julian, I've thought of a solution, and it will also ruin Ethan's reputation. Julian instantly perked up. What is it? Isabella hugged him and slowly explained her idea. I said I was engaged to a Mr. Vance, but I never specified which one. Meanwhile, back at the villa, I hadn't slept well all night, constantly waking up to check Chloe's forehead. Only when her temperature gradually came down did I finally fall asleep peacefully. I was woken up by the birds on the balcony. I opened my eyes to see the curtains fluttering slightly and 2 sparrows chirping on the balcony. But as their chirps reached my ears, I understood every word. I was very calm. If I could be reborn, what was so strange about understanding the language of animals? I got out of bed and walked over quietly. Little sparrows, what else did they say? My sudden words startled the 2 sparrows, who flapped their wings in a panic. You scared us to death. Let's fly. The 2 sparrows flew into the air, then suddenly turned back to look at me. This person seems to understand what we're saying. I raised an eyebrow. I do indeed understand. The 2 sparrows immediately flew back and landed on the balcony, full of curiosity. You really understand bird language? Do you know what we were saying? I nodded. You were talking about the shameless couple who got stripped in the cemetery. Tell me everything they said. The 2 sparrows were very simple and, chirping one after another, they revealed Isabella and Julian's entire plan. After I heard everything, my eyes grew even colder. Isabella was truly vicious to want to deal with me like this. Since they wanted to play it this way, they couldn't blame me for being ruthless. I glanced back at the room. Chloe was still asleep. I went back to bed. Chloe hadn't woken up yet, so I picked up my phone and opened Twitter. It was flooded with pictures of Isabella and Julian being taken away by the police. The comments from netizens were all over the place. Isabella is such trash. She's already engaged to Mr. Vance, and she's still going out. The rising star Julian Vance, who promotes an innocent, single persona, even made a move on his future sister-in-law. It's not surprising. I heard Mr. Vance is a poor kid from the countryside with no education. Exactly. Isabella just made a mistake that any woman would make. Between an ugly guy and a handsome guy, I'd definitely choose the handsome one. As I was scrolling, I saw a familiar Twitter account, one called Arya V, replying to every comment calling Mr. Vance ugly. So what if Ethan is poor? So what if he's ugly? Does he eat your food? What does his education have to do with you? Go take a look in the mirror and see what you look like. I looked at this familiar Twitter account, at Arya V, defending me in every way, and my nose started to tingle for some reason. Arya V was my cousin, but she was only 3 months older than me. In my past life, we were always at odds. She always called me ugly, and I thought she looked down on me and wanted to take away the Vance family's assets, so I disliked her, even hated her, and always called her by her nickname. But later, when I was in trouble, she stood up for me, taking a knife for me. Lying in a pool of blood, she gave me a weak, carefree smile and said, "Can you call me big sister just once?" In my past life, I never got the chance to call her that before she died, saving me. This time, I wouldn't let that happen. I would write countless songs, tailor scripts for my sister, and make her an international superstar actress and singer. I would protect her. I decided to make amends first. After I returned to the Vance family, I was tricked and manipulated by my father, Marcus, into kicking my sister out of the house. I first unblocked her on iMessage and then sent a friend request. In the villa, Arya V was furiously tapping on her phone, arguing with people until she was going crazy. Her manager, Kim, yawned beside her. "Go wash up and sleep. You've been arguing for 5 hours. Don't your fingers hurt?" Ever since Arya V saw the trending topic and the comments insulting me, she had been on a rampage, arguing with everyone on her phone like she was on steroids. Kim was about to have a breakdown. "Arya, you're a singer and an actress. Our reputation is bad enough. Can we have a little less negative press?" Arya V was famous for being infamous. She had a stunningly beautiful face, but her behavior was atrocious, from street racing and fighting to arguing with people on Twitter. She was a collection of scandals. Arya V looked completely unconcerned. "This little bit won't make a difference." Kim was furious. "Arya, your song was doing so well, but because Ethan reported you for plagiarism, it got taken down." Arya cut her off in a low voice. "As long as he's happy. Ethan is the young master of the Vance family, my only brother. Of course I have to protect him." Kim rolled her eyes in frustration. "Ding. Ethan Vance has sent you a friend request." She was in the middle of typing a retort when the request popped up on her screen, making her pause. But the next second, she hit decline. I was rejected and, completely bewildered, sent the request again. Arya V froze again. What was Ethan trying to pull now? You block me when you want and add me when you want? Do I have no pride? I'll never agree. Arya even wrote a reason for the rejection. Not enough characters. I looked at the reason, smiled, and typed out another request. "Big sister, please accept." Arya V looked at the words "big sister," and her heart felt as sweet as if she had eaten candy. And so, the girl who would have died before agreeing, very happily accepted the friend request. Chloe woke up to see me with a blissful smile on my face. Who was Ethan chatting with so happily? Isabella? Before I could reply, I felt Chloe's gaze. I put down my phone and placed my hand on her forehead. The fever's gone. Chloe gave a cold then sat up and pulled me closer. You haven't given me a good morning kiss yet. I looked down at Chloe and said, I told you last night, when you're better, we'll have a proper kiss. Seeing the disappointment on Chloe's face, I didn't hesitate to lean down and kiss her lips. Chloe was stunned at first, but then, as if she had thought of something, she suddenly pushed me away. Tell me your motive first. Before she could finish, I kissed her again, sealing her lips with mine. Chloe pushed me away once more, and I reached out to lift her chin. Chloe looked at me as if I were a different person. Ethan, can you just tell me your request first? I'm after your beauty. It's that simple, I said, then leaned down to kiss her lips again. This time, I was more domineering and forceful, and she was so kissed she couldn't react at all. After a while, she slowly got into it, but she was still clumsy and awkward, and even accidentally bit my lip, the taste of blood spreading between our mouths. She asked nervously, Are you okay? I touched my lip, looked at the nervous Chloe, and laughed. Was last night your first kiss? Chloe looked down at me, her face turning even redder. She nodded lightly with a soft then quickly looked up at me again. I kissed very skillfully, while she could only be forced to follow my lead. So, Ethan and Isabella. Thinking of that possibility, Chloe held her breath, not daring to think any further. She couldn't think about it. She would die of jealousy. She would go crazy. She would want to send someone to shut Isabella's mouth. A jealous Chloe suddenly tackled me. She was jealous. I smiled and held her. Last night was my first kiss too. The shattered light in Chloe's eyes instantly brightened. I've never been kissed by Isabella. I'm skilled because I've kissed you so many times in my dreams. So now I'm just practicing. I placed my fingers on her cheek, and just as I was about to make a move, the ambiguous atmosphere was shattered by the ringing of a phone. Chloe frowned, her gentle eyes instantly turning cold. Who had ruined her moment? I pushed Chloe away to get my phone. Chloe's face was dark, as if a bloodbath was about to ensue. I looked at the caller ID. It was my father, Marcus Vance. I hit the record button, and Marcus's roar immediately came through. Ethan, look what you've done. Your brother is ruined. You even stripped them naked and threw them in a cemetery. Are you even human? Is this how a brother should act? To save your brother's image and reputation, and to cover the losses of Vance Enterprises, Julian will change his legal name to Vance. From now on, he will be the young master of the Vance family. Also, we will announce that Isabella is engaged to Julian, and you are the one trying to steal your sister-in-law. I held the phone away from my ear and could still hear every word clearly. I asked, I was the one originally engaged to Isabella. Now you're changing the engagement at the last minute and calling me a homewrecker. Don't you care about my reputation? This was the last chance I was giving him. Marcus cursed again. Ethan, you're a country boy. What reputation do you have? I let out a cold laugh. I won't agree to it, Marcus commanded forcefully. You have to agree whether you want to or not. Isabella's fiancé was always your brother, not you. You also have to announce that Julian will be a Vance from now on. I was used to his cold-bloodedness and retorted with a sneer. Julian? Is his last name Vance? Marcus was stunned by my change in attitude. I laughed mockingly. Marcus, you just married into the family. You don't share my mother's name. Vance Enterprises is also mine. Julian is your illegitimate son. He doesn't have my mother's blood in him. Does he deserve the Vance name? Do you deserve to control the Vance family? Marrying into the family was a sore spot for Marcus, a source of his shame. Marcus was furious. Ethan, you think you've grown wings, do you? I chuckled. Marcus, you married into this family. Don't even think about scheming for the Vance family's assets. The Vance family will always be the Vance family. You are not worthy. In my past life, Marcus completely took over the Vance family and changed Vance Enterprises to his own name. As the primary heir, I was kicked out of the family, no longer the young master. If it weren't for Chloe, I would have become a homeless orphan. When I looked up, I planted a loud, smacking kiss on Chloe's face. Chloe looked down, her eyes dark and unreadable as she watched me. Marcus heard the sound and roared, Ethan, who are you messing around with? Get your ass back here. I glanced at Chloe and said faintly, the one and only Miss Sterling, the one you've always wanted to climb up to but could never reach. Chloe looked at me in surprise, not expecting me to mention her to my family. Marcus sneered, Ethan, look in the mirror before you talk big. You think she'd be interested in a country boy like you? Dream on. You get to the Hayes house by 10 o'clock. We're holding the engagement party for Julian and Isabella today. If you listen to me, I'll arrange a better wife for you. Otherwise, he snorted and hung up, not giving me a chance to refuse. I looked at the recording and raised an eyebrow with a smile. Isabella's engagement party. What a perfect opportunity for some public humiliation. How could I miss such a grand spectacle delivered right to my doorstep? I turned to look at Chloe. Her face was dark as she said coldly, "You're not allowed to go." She had only heard my side of the conversation, not the other. Isabella's fiancé was supposed to be me, so were all the sweet nothings from last night and this morning just to get back to her? I tugged on Chloe's sleeve. "I'll be back on time tonight." Chloe looked down at my hand, unmoved. I pulled her onto my lap and showered her face with rough, passionate kisses. "Chloe, will you let me go?" Chloe remained impassive. She looked down at me coldly. "You'd better get that idea out of your head. If you run off to the Hayes engagement party, I'll have someone bomb their house." I had the feeling that if I dared to mention it again, she would have someone beat me to death. But I wasn't afraid of her. "Ethan, it doesn't matter how many times you kiss me. I'm not letting you go," Chloe said, her tone both indulgent and helpless. I held her face and smiled. "I'm going to break off the engagement with Isabella, not to get engaged." Chloe looked up at me sharply. "Break it off?" She thought I was just saying that to get away. I said seriously, "Yes, to break it off. Then we can be together legitimately." Chloe's firm resolve not to let me go began to waver. I held her face. "Please, just trust me this one time, okay?" Then I pecked her lips again and again like a little chick, and finally, I used my ultimate move, calling her wifey. That made Chloe forget how to think and blurt out an okay. As soon as she said it, Chloe wanted to take it back. She had agreed too quickly. Hearing her agree, I held her face and gave her a hard kiss. "Chloe, you're the best." Hearing my words, Chloe thought that maybe spoiling me like this wasn't so bad. At worst, if Ethan ran away a few times, she would just catch him a few times. It would be like a game. "Chloe, can you order some fireworks for me? I want to set them off all the way to the neighborhood to celebrate." Chloe looked up at me, then suddenly held her breath. I was actually changing clothes right in front of her. Chloe was stunned. When I didn't hear a response, I turned to look at her. "Chloe, what do you think of wearing this to break off the engagement?" The moment I looked up, I saw that Chloe had a nosebleed. I wiped it for her. "Tilt your head back. Why is it bleeding more and more? Have you been under a lot of stress lately?" Chloe didn't tilt her head back, but instead looked down at me. Standing there naked in front of her, my hard 8-pack abs dazzled her. The more she looked, the more turned on she got, and the more her nose bled. Chloe's voice was hoarse. "You should put your clothes on, then it should be fine. Otherwise, my nose won't stop bleeding." Hearing that, I looked down at myself. "Then you should look a little longer and get used to it. Otherwise, are you going to get a nosebleed every time you see me?" Chloe couldn't handle my bold words. She took a tissue and plugged her nose, thinking, "Isn't this something that only happens to men? How could a girl like her react this way?" It made her feel so pathetic. Then she turned and went to the bathroom, throwing a harsh word over her shoulder. "Ethan, you'd better leave before I change my mind." Seeing Chloe act like a startled rabbit, I couldn't help but laugh. How did I never notice how innocent she was in my past life? Her innocence was just too cute. I changed my clothes but didn't leave right away. I was waiting for Chloe, but after waiting for a long time, Chloe still hadn't come out. I got a little anxious. "Chloe, are you not done yet? Leave before I change my mind." Hearing the sound of running water from inside, I knew it wasn't that simple. I then ran downstairs. Sarah saw me and asked, "Mr. Vance, are you okay?" I forced myself to look calm. "I'm fine. I need you to do something for me. Buy some condoms and feminine wash." Sarah's eyes widened. "Is this for your love life or Miss Sterling's?" "Miss Sterling is so injured and has a high fever, and they still did that." I saw her shocked expression. "It's not for Chloe." Sarah was even more shocked. "It's not for Miss Sterling, and you're asking me to buy it? That's even worse." I saw that the more I explained, the more misunderstood I would be. "In short, just go buy it for me. Buy a lot." Sarah was confused at first and then even more so. "Mr. Vance, what on earth are you planning to do? Buying so many condoms and so much feminine wash, and you want it in champagne like bottles? Could it be that Ethan had a strange fetish and wanted to drink feminine wash?" I raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Of course, it's to torture some scumbags. Hurry up and go." Sarah was still completely bewildered, but she accepted the task. As soon as she left, she called Chloe. "Ms. Sterling, Mr. Vance." Chloe's voice was low. "Do as he says." Sarah was puzzled, but she still did as she was told. I sent Chloe a message on iMessage. "I'm heading out. Be a good girl and wait for me at home. Don't go to the office. Get plenty of rest." Chloe's heart felt sweet, and she couldn't help but smile. Isabella and Julian were discovered in the morning by people visiting the cemetery. When they were found, They didn't have a single scrap of clothing on them, and pictures were taken of them embracing naked. They had to spend $2,000 to buy 2 sets of clothes meant for burning for the dead, which finally ended their humiliating ordeal in the cemetery. The two of them were scolded harshly as soon as they got back. Mrs. Hayes pointed at Isabella's nose and yelled, "How many times have I told you to be more discreet? And what happens? You get reported at a hotel, and now a video of you in the cemetery is all over the internet." Mr. Hayes tried to calm his wife down. "It's not Isabella's fault. It's that Ethan. Ethan is just a poor country boy who's not fit for high society. He must have been the one who reported Isabella last night. It's all his fault. He's the one who should have been stripped and thrown in the cemetery." Isabella nodded in agreement. "What's done is done. Scolding won't help. Let's focus on damage control." Mr. Hayes nodded. "The engagement party is already underway. Let's go out and greet the guests." Mrs. Hayes took a deep breath to suppress her anger. "No matter what anyone says today, it's all Ethan's fault." She looked at Marcus. "I don't care what you say. You have to protect Isabella's reputation and make Ethan take all the blame and be ruined." Marcus nodded. "I've already spoken to Ethan. After today, he'll be kicked out with nothing, and he won't be able to bother Isabella anymore." With that assurance, Mrs. Hayes's expression finally softened. The guests downstairs included not only many of Newport Beach's high society members, but also, because of yesterday's events, members of the media. Isabella and Julian changed into their formal wear and went downstairs hand in hand to face the reporters. "I'm very happy to have everyone here today for my and Julian's engagement party. I apologize for holding it so suddenly and in this manner. It was truly unavoidable. If the reporters have any questions, I will answer them all today." Julian's refined demeanor and Isabella's graceful elegance made it impossible to see the sordid figures from the video, but their faces were unmistakable. A reporter asked, "Last night, Mr. Vance and Ms. Hayes were arrested at a hotel for prostitution. What happened?" Isabella smiled. "It was a misunderstanding. Julian is my fiancé. I think even if it's not legal, it's not illegal either, right?" Another reporter asked, "Isn't Ms. Hayes engaged to a Mr. Vance? Why is it Julian now?" "The engagement was always with Julian. It never changed. As for Mr. Ethan Vance, I'm very troubled. Perhaps because I offered him a helping hand, he mistook it for affection and has been a bit persistent. Julian has a kind heart and didn't want to ruin his reputation, so he didn't expose the matter." Marcus explained, "Actually, Julian changed his last name a long time ago, but we're just used to calling him by his old name. Julian is the true young master of the Vance family. Isabella's fiancé is him, not my younger son, Ethan." Julian faced the cameras with a smile. "Ethan is my brother, and it's right for me to yield to him, but when it comes to matters of the heart, I can't give in. I also hope that everyone will not bother Ethan and spread rumors that Isabella is his fiancée. To compensate for Ethan's hurt feelings, I am willing to give up my inheritance of the Vance family's assets." With just a few words, they easily changed the fact that Isabella was engaged to me, claiming I was the one trying to be a homewrecker, while they became the victims, the good people who generously forgave me. Pop, pop, pop. Just as Julian and the others were about to clear their names, a deafening sound of firecrackers erupted outside, accompanied by a blaring loudspeaker. "Congratulations to Ethan Vance for breaking off his engagement with Isabella Hayes. Say congratulations and get a red envelope." Mrs. Hayes was stunned when she heard the broadcast. What on earth was going on? The butler immediately went out to investigate. The firecrackers continued to pop, and the loudspeaker blared again. "Congratulations to Ethan Vance for breaking off his engagement with Isabella Hayes. Say congratulations and get a red envelope." Many of the guests heard the broadcast and were also curious. They walked outside, murmuring, "What's going on? Why is Ethan breaking off the engagement? Isn't today Julian and Isabella's engagement party? Who is Isabella actually engaged to?" Mr. Hayes heard this, his head throbbing, and he hurried outside to see. It would have been better if he hadn't looked. The sight made his blood boil, and he almost fainted from anger. Outside was a long procession of cars, each a luxury vehicle worth over $1 million. Every car was decorated with various chrysanthemums and had bold, eye-catching signs that read, "Ethan thanks Isabella for not marrying him," and "Ethan breaks off engagement with Isabella." And on the hood of each car was a black and white photo of Isabella and Julian embracing naked. When Isabella and Julian saw the photo and the whole spectacle, they almost fainted from rage. Even more outrageous, various festive arches were being erected by workers, celebrating Ethan's successful engagement breakup. Isabella and Julian were so angry they almost coughed up blood. Someone who loved a good show laughed out loud. "Who did this? It's brilliant. The Hayes family probably pushed someone too far, which is why this is happening." You can't say that. The public announcement was always that the Hayes family was engaged to the Vance family, without specifying which young master. A prestigious young master versus a country boy. Anyone who isn't a fool knows to choose Julian. A perfectly good engagement party has turned into a farce. It's almost like a funeral. But Ethan has been hiding all this time. I'm quite curious to see what this incredibly ugly man really looks like. How ugly is he? The Vance family hasn't even released a single photo. He must be super ugly. Otherwise, the Hayes family wouldn't have stooped to marrying the illegitimate son of a man who married into the family. Marcus had married into the family, and Julian was his illegitimate son, so they were always looked down upon. Hearing this, the father and son duo were so angry they almost coughed up blood again. The car slowly drove up and finally stopped. Isabella ran forward in a rage, yanked open the car door, and cursed, "Ethan, get the hell out here." The words had just left her mouth when Isabella saw the man in the back seat, and her eyes widened in amazement. I looked up and smiled faintly. Seeing my smile, Isabella's heart suddenly started to race. "I'm sorry, I mistook you for someone else." It was the first time Isabella had seen such a handsome man, and she couldn't stop stuttering. "I wasn't talking about you just now. I was talking about Ethan. He's an ugly country boy." I didn't speak, just elegantly stepped out of the car. Congratulations to Ethan Vance for breaking off his engagement with Isabella Hayes. The loudspeaker interrupted the beautiful moment. Isabella ran to open the doors of the cars behind, shouting at each one, "Ethan, get out of the car. Ethan, if you have the guts to crash a wedding, then have the guts to get out. Stop hiding, you ugly freak. Ugly people always cause trouble." The moment Marcus saw me get out of the car, his eyes widened in shock, filled with panic and fear, simply because I looked so much like his deceased wife. I walked up to Marcus with a cold aura. "So, father, you still remember me? I just wonder if you think of me in your midnight nightmares, like a vengeful ghost coming for your life." Hearing my voice, Marcus's face changed even more. "You're Ethan." His words made everyone turn to look at me in shock. The cool and noble man was actually the rumored country boy. "Ethan?" Isabella hadn't found anyone and ran back, just in time to hear my name. "Ethan, Ethan, get out here. I'm going to make you crawl out of here today." A man couldn't take it anymore and pointed at me, telling Isabella, "This is the ugly man you're talking about, Ethan." Isabella looked over and saw me frowning. Before I could answer, she sneered, "If he's Ethan, I'll eat dog crap. Don't we know what Ethan looks like?" Isabella was so angered by the scene today that she forgot to maintain her noble and elegant demeanor, spewing all sorts of nasty words. She had lost all reason and just wanted to grab me and strangle me. I sneered, "Then go eat dog crap. You're Ethan." Isabella shook her head in disbelief. "Impossible. You can't be Ethan. You're a fake. You're a fake." I smiled and took my ID out of my wallet to prove my identity. "I don't think I need an ID. Everyone here knows I'm Ethan." Isabella looked at my ID. It was indeed me. The older guests looked at me and nodded. "He is Ethan, that's right. He bears a striking resemblance to his mother, Lillian." I always said, how could the nation's #1 beauty, Lillian, have such an ugly son? I don't know what they were thinking, spreading rumors that Ethan was an ugly country boy. Back then, Lillian was not only the daughter of the Vance family but also won the national beauty pageant, becoming the most beautiful woman in the country for 30 years. Isabella looked at me furiously. "Ethan, you lied to me. You actually lied to me." Julian looked at me, dressed to the nines, and gritted his teeth in hatred. Not only because he was arrested last night and thrown in a cemetery, but also because today was his engagement party, and Ethan was here to ruin it. Julian took a deep breath and walked up to me. "Brother, I'm so happy you came to my engagement party all dressed up. By the way, which makeup artist did you use? Introduce me, I want to have a glow up too. This imitation makeup is really well done." Someone understood the meaning behind Julian's words. With just one sentence, he had easily dismissed my appearance as something created with cosmetics. "That's hilarious." I looked at Julian. "Sorry, I'm a man. I don't mess with all that fancy stuff like you do." After being publicly humiliated, Julian still forced a smile. "Brother, you used to pretend to be ugly, poor, and uneducated. Now you've dropped the act and come to my engagement party. It's not to crash the wedding, is it?" Julian put his arm around Isabella. "Isabella isn't someone who only cares about looks. Brother, you should just give up and wish us well. I am here to wish you well, and I even brought a big gift." As I spoke, I clapped my hands. A bodyguard came up with a large box, making everyone's eyes widen in curiosity about what was inside. The bodyguard opened the box and dumped its contents on Julian and Isabella. Julian and Isabella were covered in it. Marcus looked at the condoms that almost buried them and trembled with anger. He roared, "Ethan, is it fun to come and ruin an engagement party?" That's right, the first gift I sent was a huge number of condoms that I had Sarah buy. Sarah had someone buy so many that they nearly cleared out a whole stock. Now they were all dumped on Julian and Isabella, burying them halfway. I smiled. Their relationship is so messy. Buying them some condoms not only prevents pregnancy, but also stops them from spreading diseases to others. My words made it sound like they had some kind of disease, which made them tremble even more with anger. "Ethan, that's enough." I raised my hand. "Bring out the second gift." This time, 2 bodyguards came up carrying a large box with a champagne bottle on top. Julian's eyes were red as he stared at me. "How far are you going to take this? Will you only be satisfied if you steal Isabella?" I took the champagne bottle and smiled at Julian. "I wish you two, a bitch and a dog, a long and happy life together. Don't go out and harm anyone else." I popped the champagne on them, and Julian and Isabella were once again splashed. The fresh, strong scent made everyone feel that something was off. The bodyguard opened the box, revealing a large bucket. I raised an eyebrow and shouted, "Everyone, step back. It's time to give the bitch a healthy wash." Hearing this, the guests immediately backed away. The next second, the bodyguard took the large bucket and threw its contents with force. A brown liquid poured out. Isabella and Julian didn't dodge, and Marcus, Mrs. Hayes, and Mr. Hayes behind them were also drenched, soaked to the bone. The brown liquid covered them, not only soaking their clothes but also ruining their makeup, revealing their ugly, pathetic appearances. Isabella's voice was shrill to the extreme. "Ethan, I'm going to kill you." Mr. Hayes ordered, "Security, security, get this man out of here." The security guards didn't dare to move. A powerful figure had given orders to let me do as I pleased here. The champagne spray earlier didn't have a strong smell, but now, with a whole bucket thrown, the air was filled with a thick scent, not foul, but with a cool, medicinal fragrance. "What is that stuff?" someone asked, not knowing. "From the smell, it should be feminine wash." "Haha, this Ethan is incredible. Condoms and now feminine wash. A healthy wash indeed. What is feminine wash used for?" Then someone in the crowd explained what it was. After hearing the explanation, the guests couldn't help but want to give a thumbs up. This gift was absolutely perfect. Isabella and her family had never been so humiliated. To be so thoroughly shamed by a country boy like me made them furious. "Ethan, from the very beginning, the one engaged to Isabella was Julian, not you. Even if you turn the world upside down today, Isabella will never be engaged to you. You've already been a persistent pest, and now you're trying to force her by threatening to die," Marcus said with great sorrow. "Ethan, I know I've wronged you, but your brother has already said he's willing to give up his inheritance. He will absolutely not let you take Isabella from him. What more do you want?" Mr. Hayes said, "Ethan, don't turn into a murderer just because you failed to be a homewrecker. The Hayes family's engagement was never with you." I smirked. "Since you're so sure, then I'll have to present the evidence to prove you wrong." With that, I took out my phone, opened the call recording, and soon Marcus's voice came through. "Julian will change his legal name to Vance. From now on, he will be the young master of the Vance family. Also, we will announce that Isabella is engaged to Julian, and you are the one trying to steal your sister-in-law." I asked, "Wasn't I the one originally engaged to Isabella? Now you're changing the engagement at the last minute and calling me a homewrecker. Don't you care about my reputation?" Marcus laughed and said, "You're a country boy? What reputation do you have that's more important than your brother's?" After hearing the recordings, everyone turned to look at Marcus. It was clear that Isabella was originally engaged to Ethan, and only because of the scandal did Julian take his place. Everyone shook their heads. Treating an illegitimate son like a treasure and his own son like dirt, such a father is a rare species. I was wondering why such a handsome man like Ethan was rumored to be so ugly. It turns out they were trying to ruin his reputation. The crowd loved the drama, and now they were all pointing fingers. Marcus's face was ashen as he looked at me. "You actually recorded it." He never imagined I would record the conversation. I raised an eyebrow. How else would people know the truth if I didn't record it? Marcus was so angry his chest heaved, and he almost fainted. I turned to look at Julian. "You stole your brother's fiancée. Aren't you going to explain yourself?" Julian looked at his own pathetic state, while I stood there like an elegant and noble prince. His face was twisted with jealousy. He gritted his teeth and glared at me. "Isabella and I have known each other since we were kids. If you hadn't suddenly come back, I would have been the one engaged to her. You're the one who stole Isabella. You're the homewrecker." Before he could finish, I raised my hand and gave him a resounding slap. "Ethan, you dare to hit me!" Julian lunged at me to fight back. My eyes turned cold, and I kicked him hard. Thud! Julian fell heavily to the ground. He roared like a madman, and I stepped forward, kicked him in the face, and ground my foot down. "Julian, you can have that trashy woman if you want her. But if you think you can change your name and take over the Vance family's assets, dream on. The Vance family is mine, and you don't deserve the name." Marcus looked at his son with pity and rushed forward to teach me a lesson. "That's your brother. You bastard." He raised his hand to hit me, but I held up the champagne bottle. With a crack, Marcus's hand hit the bottle hard, and he cried out in pain. "Ethan, you even dare to hit your own father. Aren't you afraid of divine retribution?" I pointed the champagne bottle at Marcus. "If you keep being so biased, I'll show you what it means to put justice before family." My voice was as cold as ice, making people shiver. Marcus was also stunned by my presence. I looked down at Julian and pressed the champagne bottle against his face. "The fate of a homewrecker is to be stripped naked in the street. I've already been very merciful." Mrs. Hayes shouted, "Security! Arrest Ethan and take him to the police station. I'll give 10,000 to whoever does it." Seeing the security guards surround me, I sneered, holding the champagne bottle. "Perfect. I'll test out my dog-beating skills. One to the left, one to the right, a shoulder throw here, a flying kick there. Thump, thump, thump." In less than a minute, several security guards were down on the ground. I raised an eyebrow at Mrs. Hayes, who shivered under my gaze. "No matter what, Isabella will not be engaged to you. Even if you play hard to get, it won't work. You're a jinx, a curse that kills." Before Mrs. Hayes could finish, I threw the champagne bottle, scaring her into shutting her eyes tight. I walked straight up to Isabella. "Give me back my ancestral ring." Isabella's face darkened. "Ethan, don't push your luck. Everyone is just giving you a way out. I know you're playing hard to get, trying to get my attention." I didn't want to be disgusted by her, so I grabbed the bucket and slammed it over Isabella's head. The Hayes family had long been eyeing the billion-dollar ancestral ring. Otherwise, why would Isabella have come to propose as soon as I returned? They had originally planned for Julian to change his name to Vance, get engaged, and still get the ring. They never expected me to come and break off the engagement so publicly. Just as Mr. Hayes was about to have someone get the ring, Mrs. Hayes shrieked, "Why should we give it to him? That ring should belong to our Hayes family. This is the emotional distress compensation you owe Isabella." I sneered. "Emotional distress compensation?" Mrs. Hayes said righteously, "Yes, because of the engagement with you, and everything that has happened since last night, it's all your fault. You've harmed Isabella's interests and hurt her emotionally. You must compensate her." This shameless statement stunned everyone present. I turned to the bodyguard and asked, "Is there any more feminine wash?" The bodyguard immediately brought another large bucket. Mrs. Hayes backed away in terror. I grabbed her by the collar. "Trash needs a good washing." Mrs. Hayes was caught off guard and pushed into the bucket. Just as Isabella was about to get up, I pushed her back down to the ground. Isabella cried out in pain, "Ethan, you're a lunatic." Mrs. Hayes pointed a trembling finger at me. "I'm going to call the police on you." "I'm going to." I cut her off coldly. "I can also sue you for extorting $1 billion. By the way, the collaboration project Isabella took, I can say she was an accomplice." Mrs. Hayes was so angry she couldn't speak. I smiled and continued, "Extortion plus theft. How many years do you think that would get you? $1 billion extortion charge, if pursued, would be enough to keep Mrs. Hayes in prison for the rest of her life. Although I wouldn't actually pursue it, it was enough to scare them." Mr. Hayes didn't want to cause any more trouble and handed me the brocade box. "Here's the ring. The engagement is off. We have nothing to do with each other from now on." He glared at me fiercely. "Don't come trying to use our Hayes family connections in the future. Whether you live or die has nothing to do with us." In Mr. Hayes's eyes, I was just an unloved country bumpkin who was nothing without the Hayes family's support. Today's farce was just a show of bravado. After confirming it was the ancestral ring, I stood up and chuckled. "Remember, I broke off the engagement with Isabella, not the other way around. That distinction is very important." Isabella finally managed to stand up, her stomach full of anger. She pointed at me and cursed, "Ethan, if I hadn't gotten engaged to you in the first place, who would have even looked at you? I'm telling you, no one but me would dare to have you. You can just wait to be sold off to some old woman as a stud." I raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Sorry, but the most noble woman in the world, Chloe Sterling, is going to marry me." My words were met with 3 seconds of dead silence. Then Isabella burst out laughing, and the other guests couldn't help but laugh as well. Everyone knew that Chloe Sterling was not interested in men. Any man who got close to her met a bad end. I admit Ethan is handsome. He could even be the most handsome man in the country, but Chloe isn't interested in men. Ethan must be really desperate to be making such a bold claim. Of all the things to brag about, he had to pick Chloe. In Newport Beach, Chloe was a legendary figure who struck fear into the hearts of many. Chloe was beautiful, rich, and had a clean reputation with no scandals. The only problem was, she didn't like men. A celebrity once tried to get close to her and ended up with his dirty laundry aired out and in prison. And even more terrifying, if any man so much as touched her clothes, he would lose a finger. In short, the rumored Chloe was a very scary person. And now I was saying that Chloe, a woman who saw men as a plague, was going to marry him. This was truly more ridiculous than the sun rising in the west. I put the ring away. I've broken off the engagement. You can continue with your own. I looked up at the guests and said, by the way, remember to congratulate me on breaking off the engagement, because if you do, you'll have a chance to collaborate with Vance Enterprises and Sterling Corporation. This made everyone's eyes light up. The Hayes family's position in Newport Beach had always been mediocre. People below them would try to curry favor, while those above looked down on them. So most of the people who came today were here to suck up. If they could collaborate with Sterling Corporation or even Vance Enterprises, it would be much better than the Hayes family. Isabella sneered. Do you really think Sterling Corporation is your family's business? You say you can collaborate and it just happens? You just made a huge brag, and now you're acting like you're in charge of Sterling Corporation for Chloe? That's hilarious. I lowered my eyes and chuckled. Everyone here should have received a notification by now. Ding! All sorts of notification sounds went off. They were all messages from their secretaries or company executives. Sterling Corporation has issued a notice. Congratulate Ethan Vance on breaking off his engagement with Isabella Hayes within 3 days for a chance to discuss a collaboration with Sterling Corporation. What did it mean to collaborate with Sterling Corporation? The odds were lower than winning a $5 million lottery. Don't underestimate the phrase, discuss a collaboration. At their level, they couldn't even get a meeting with a Sterling Corporation executive. And now, all they had to do was say, congratulations to Ethan for breaking off the engagement. Congratulations to Ethan on breaking off the engagement. Truly, congratulations. And so, a chorus of congratulations for my engagement breakup rang out. Isabella and her family's faces were extremely ugly, and they almost died of anger. It was mainly because they were so frustrated. Although people had to curry favor with them, they didn't dare to offend these people. Isabella, congratulations on being dumped. Isabella's face was so ugly she looked like she wanted to kill someone. The surrounding guests all smiled and congratulated her. Ms. Hayes, Mrs. Hayes, congratulations on being dumped by the Vance family. Mr. Vance, congratulations to your son for picking up the trash that Mr. Ethan Vance didn't want. Every congratulations was like a slap in the face to Isabella's family. They had to hold in their anger and force a smile. I stood to the side and reminded them, Mr. Hayes, Isabella, people are congratulating you. Shouldn't you say thank you? The Hayes family was so angry they wanted to cough up blood, but they still had to force themselves to say thank you. Just then, a caw-caw sound came from the sky. Everyone looked up to see a large flock of crows flying over, a black mass in the sky. Mrs. Hayes immediately pointed at me and cursed, "You jinx! Even the crows are here to announce your death." I calmly looked up. "We'll see who's unlucky." The words had barely left my mouth when the lead crow swooped down. Splat! A bird dropping landed precisely on Mrs. Hayes's face. Then, the entire flock began an aerial assault on the Hayes family. 2 sparrows flew to my shoulder, chirping for credit. "Ethan, do you like the surprise? We specially called in so many helpers." I narrowed my eyes, watching with satisfaction as Isabella and her family descended into chaos. I'm very satisfied. At first, the guests were afraid of being hit by bird droppings, but then they realized the flock seemed to be targeting only Isabella and her family. Woof, woof, woof. Suddenly, a chorus of barks erupted, and a pack of stray dogs rushed over, heading straight for Isabella and her family. The guests were full of questions. Why did the crows only poop on them? Why did the dogs only chase them? The Hayes family is so unlucky. It must be retribution brought on by that jinx, Julian. Isabella and her family were chased until they had nowhere to go, and they jumped into a smelly river, not even daring to show their heads. The animals had given Isabella and her family a hard time. I had finally broken off the engagement completely, and I was in a great mood. I sent a message to Chloe on iMessage. "Chloe, I'm free." When Chloe saw the message, her heart tightened. She ordered coldly, "Sarah, lock down the entire city immediately and bring Ethan back. Acquire the Hayes company at once." Ding! I broke off the engagement with Isabella, so we can be together now. I want to fly to your side right now for kisses and hugs. I want to taste your lips. Can we kiss for 5 minutes when I get home? When Chloe saw the new message notification, the murderous look on her face instantly vanished. Sarah, come back. Sarah was completely bewildered. Ms. Sterling's mood swings were too fast. Just a moment ago, she looked like she was about to kill someone. Chloe stared at her phone screen, typed out half of a congratulations, then deleted it, feeling it sounded too much like she was gloating. She typed again, okay. Then she frowned and deleted it, thinking it was too cold. That's great. I miss you too. I want to kiss you for a long time. 5 minutes isn't enough. Looking at the message, Chloe thought it was too explicit. She kept typing and deleting like this, her expression as serious as if she were reviewing a royal decree. Sarah watched from the side, completely confused. Ms. Sterling, what's wrong? Chloe replied coldly, nothing. In reality, she was struggling with how to reply to me. Just then, Dr. Quinn came in with her medical bag and whispered to Sarah, "What's wrong with Ms. Sterling?" Sarah shook her head. "I don't know. She's been fiddling with her phone for a while." It was well known that Ms. Sterling was never addicted to her phone. Her days were filled with work and thinking about Ethan. Dr. Quinn stepped forward. "Ms. Sterling, it's time to change your dressing." Chloe looked up. If a boy sends a message saying he misses you, what's a good way to reply? Dr. Quinn was completely bewildered. Had Ms. Sterling taken the wrong medicine today? Chloe continued, "If a boy says he wants to kiss, how do you reply without sounding too eager?" Dr. Quinn glanced at her phone. "Is it Mr. Vance?" A blush spread across Chloe's face. Dr. Quinn's eyes widened in shock. The Ice Queen could actually blush. Chloe urged coldly, "Answer quickly. It's urgent." Ethan was still waiting for a reply. Dr. Quinn opened her medical bag. "Don't overthink it. Just reply instantly." Chloe finally settled on "waiting for you." Just then, another message from me came in. Chloe didn't reply to me instantly. "You really don't love me anymore." Chloe immediately panicked. Then another message arrived. "We just kissed last night. I was just a little nice to you, and you already don't cherish me." Chloe stared at the messages from me on her phone, completely bewildered. It was true that what you can't have is always the best. Chloe doesn't love me anymore. Why don't you love me anymore? Is it because I got handsome? Chloe fumbled to reply when a video call from me suddenly came in. Chloe, Dr. Quinn urged from the side. "Ms. Sterling, take off your clothes." Hearing that, my face instantly darkened. So that's why Chloe wasn't replying to me. She was messing around with Dr. Quinn. Dr. Quinn quickly explained, "I like men. Excuses are just a cover-up. Where's Chloe?" Dr. Quinn was speechless. Chloe said seriously, word by word, "I love Ethan, and I will never not love Ethan." She was explaining why she hadn't replied instantly, and also answering my string of "you don't love me" messages. I finally smiled. "Silly, I just wanted to hear you say you love me. I wanted you to coax me." Dr. Quinn watched the two of them being all lovey-dovey on the video call and urged again, "Miss Sterling, take off your clothes." Chloe refused. "No, Ethan said my body is not for others to see." I saw the medicine in Dr. Quinn's hand and changed my tune. "Chloe, go ahead. Let her change the dressing on your back first. I'll take care of the other places when I get home. Remember, except for your back, don't let Dr. Quinn touch anywhere else." After the video call ended, Chloe was still staring at the black screen with a silly smile. "Dr. Quinn, did you hear what Ethan said?" "I heard. He said not to let me touch anywhere else." Chloe smiled and said, "He said this is his home." Dr. Quinn was speechless. Wasn't that a completely different point? While changing the dressing on Chloe's back, Dr. Quinn couldn't help but say, "Miss Sterling, Ethan is being so attentive all of a sudden. He might have ulterior motives. He's acting too abnormally. I'm worried he'll hurt you." But Chloe just smiled. "So what? As long as he's happy." Dr. Quinn rolled her eyes. Miss Sterling was truly hopeless. "I bet he won't be back in half an hour. I heard he went to get engaged. Ethan went to find Isabella. If it's not for the engagement, then it's for." Before she could finish, Chloe grabbed her hand and threw her to the ground. Chloe said coldly, "Don't talk about Ethan like that, or I won't be so polite." Dr. Quinn got up, furious. "Chloe, you're choosing a man over your friend. I took a bullet for you, and you throw me for a man." Dr. Quinn was hopping mad. Chloe's tone softened a bit. "Don't talk about Ethan like that. He's my life, my soul. Sisterhood is important, but Ethan is my soul. Without him, I would be lost." Dr. Quinn sulked for a while, then suddenly understood. Chloe was very stubborn. Once she set her mind on Ethan, she would never change. Even if Ethan had a sex change, Chloe would still want him and no one else. Dr. Quinn said confidently. I bet Ethan won't be back in half an hour. Chloe looked down at her phone. He will. Dr. Quinn sat down across from Chloe. Want to make a bet? If Ethan comes back in half an hour, I'll apologize to him and be polite to him from now on. If he doesn't come back, you have to send people to catch him, and you can't talk to him for a whole day. This bet was clearly in Chloe's favor. After all, according to custom, after I was caught running away, I would ignore Chloe for 3 days. Chloe's thin lips curved slightly. Ethan will definitely come back. Dr. Quinn snorted triumphantly. Then it's a deal. I guarantee Ethan went to get engaged to Isabella. She quickly took out her phone and started scrolling through Twitter, looking for related news. Sarah finished her call and walked over. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Vance is on his way back. Chloe, who had been looking down, suddenly looked up. Dr. Quinn laughed dryly. It must be a trick. Sarah gave her a look and recounted the whole story of my engagement breakup in detail. The scene was quite spectacular. Dr. Quinn was dumbfounded. Ethan really broke off the engagement and set off firecrackers to celebrate. Bruno is Ethan's bodyguard. The information is absolutely reliable. Chloe was stunned for a moment, then the corners of her mouth turned up. Is the aftermath taken care of? She was worried that the video of me hitting people in public would be uploaded to the internet. Sarah nodded. It's all been arranged. No one dares to post any news about Mr. Vance hitting people. Ever since I was brought to Sterling Estates, all the negative press about me online had disappeared. Chloe protected me very well, not allowing anyone to slander me. Dr. Quinn, still skeptical, opened Twitter, only to find it flooded with the disastrous engagement scene of Isabella and Julian. The two were publicly humiliated and finally attacked by a flock of birds. And the news of my engagement breakup had gone viral. Just then, the sound of a car engine came from outside. The housekeeper, Mrs. Davis, rushed in. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Vance is back. Chloe's dull eyes suddenly lit up. Dr. Quinn stood there, still in disbelief. No, it can't be, right? Sarah walked over and patted her face. Did you hear that? That's the sound of being proven wrong. Dr. Quinn slapped her hand away. Get lost. You want a shot. She had to see for herself. Ethan must have run away long ago. I had just gotten out of the car when I saw Chloe walking towards me. We embraced. Chloe, I'm back. Did you miss me? Chloe nodded. I looked down and caressed her lips with my fingertips. I want to taste this. Chloe couldn't resist my teasing and stood on her tiptoes to kiss me. Dr. Quinn came out just in time to see us kissing passionately. Sarah leaned against the door, gloating. Not only is he back, but he's also getting kisses and hugs. Dr. Quinn glared at her. Haven't you had enough of their public displays of affection? You want another shot. Hearing the word shot, Sarah immediately backed down. I was kissed until I was almost out of breath before we separated. Has it been 5 minutes yet? Chloe said seriously. No. Should we buy an hourglass to time it? I was amused. Did you learn how to kiss today? Although she was still clumsy last night, she had made great progress today. Chloe shook her head. Not yet. I need another 10 minutes of practice. Just then, Dr. Quinn suddenly poked her head in. Can you practice later? It's time for Ms. Sterling to change her dressing. If they continued like this, she was really afraid they would put on a live show. Chloe glared at Dr. Quinn with a displeased expression. You lost. I tilted my head curiously. What did Dr. Quinn lose? Sarah gloated from the side. She bet you wouldn't come back. She said if you did, she would apologize to you and never bother you again. Dr. Quinn was straightforward and bowed to me directly. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you before. I'll be polite to you from now on. She thought to herself, this man actually didn't run away. Ms. Sterling can suffer a little less today. I felt a little embarrassed. I'm the one who should be sorry. I used to always lose my temper with you. I nodded at Dr. Quinn and Sarah. It won't happen again. Dr. Quinn jumped back in fright. Are you possessed by a ghost? This is too creepy. I used to call them Chloe's dogs all the time and even sent them dog food to humiliate them. Now I was actually apologizing. I nodded with a smile. Yes, but I'm only after Chloe's beauty. You're not worthy. I remembered my past life, how badly I had treated them, yet they protected me until their deaths. I had to make it up to them in this life. Back in the room, Chloe sat obediently on the edge of the bed. I stood in front of her, making her heart race. I cleared my throat, my face red. Take off your pants. Chloe shyly lowered her head. Ethan, I'm not taking them off. I grinned mischievously. Then I'll help you. Chloe stared straight at me, then suddenly stood up. Okay, then you take them off. I was stunned. I had only said that to get her to do it herself, but she had turned the tables on me. Chloe looked down at me without a hint of malice. and I was the one who blushed under her gaze. I gritted my teeth. Fine, I'll do it. I quickly pulled down her pants and then focused on applying the medicine. Chloe's face was so red it looked like it could bleed. After finally finishing, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm going to eat. Downstairs, Dr. Quinn and the others were eating. Seeing me run down, Dr. Quinn looked surprised. So fast? Ethan, you're not very good at this. I immediately bristled. You're the one who's not good. I suddenly remembered something and slapped my forehead. Oh no, I forgot about my sister. At that moment, my sister was staring eagerly at her phone. I had added her as a friend this morning and hadn't sent a single message since. Her assistant, Kim, said listlessly, "He's definitely playing you, or he wants money." Arya Vance had a fond smile on her face. But he called me big sister, so what if he was playing her? If he needed money, she would rob a bank for him. Kim had stayed up all night with her and couldn't help but complain, "Arya, you're being too dramatic." Arya stared at the words big sister in the chat and couldn't stop smiling. Ethan is the first person to ever call me big sister. She wanted to post it on Facebook to show off right now. Kim sneered. How many times has Ethan lied to you? Every time it's either for money or because he's in trouble. This time he just disappeared for half a month. Arya took a screenshot of the chat and giggled at the words, big sister. Kim suddenly remembered something. Arya, have you heard that Sterling Corporation lost $1 billion project? Arya was busy posting on Facebook. What's that got to do with me? She posted a status, first day of being a big sister. She even tagged her 5 other sisters, but not Ethan, afraid he would get too proud. The comments section quickly exploded. Big sister, just say it. How much money does Ethan want? Second sister, just say it. Who did Ethan hit this time that you have to take the blame for? Third sister, is Ethan out of his mind? Or are you having a nightmare? Fourth and fifth sisters, reported. Arya replied to each of them, Ethan would never ask for money. You're just jealous that I'm the first one he called big sister. Kim continued, I heard Ethan was the one who stole the project. Arya looked up sharply. Who did you say? Kim nodded. It should be Ethan. My brother is a legal consultant for Sterling Corporation, and he said old man Sterling wants to call the police on him. $1 billion case, if he can't pay it back, he'll be in prison for life. Arya looked at the reply she had just sent and touched her face. Kim, do you think my face is swollen? Kim silently opened Facebook and nodded seriously. It could be even more swollen. Arya replied to her sisters in tears. Big sister, I want $1 billion. Please be my sugar mommy. Second sister, I need a favor. Sell your research. Third sister, how many years do you get for stealing $1 billion secret? Can you get a reduced sentence? Fourth and fifth sisters, remember to visit me in prison, take care of Ethan, and light a candle for me next year. All 5 sisters replied in unison, get lost. Arya looked at the chat with a worried expression. Ethan is so considerate, he didn't even ask me for money at such a difficult time. Kim looked at her speechlessly. No, such a considerate brother. I have to save him. Arya suddenly perked up. Accept all the script offers, and give me a list of rich old men. Kim almost burst out laughing. Arya, you're going to sell yourself? It's a sob story. If it's not sad enough, how will the old men be willing to pay? Arya opened a group chat with rich old men and sent a message. Daddies, I don't want to work hard anymore. Please be my sugar daddies. As soon as Arya sent the message to the group, the rich old men went crazy. How much does Arya want? I'll give it to you. Who dares to compete with me? Arya replied cheekily, I don't want much, just $1 billion. The message had just been sent when a system notification popped up. You have been removed from the group chat by the group owner. Arya sighed. Ding, ding, ding. Her phone suddenly started ringing like crazy. Bank notification, $900 million deposited. A message transfer, $10 million. Red envelope, $2 million. Arya jumped up in excitement. Big sister sent a message. The money is for that country bumpkin. If you dare to take it, I'll blacklist you. Second sister sighed. My research grant is $100,000. If you touch a single penny, I'll poison you. Third, fourth, and fifth sisters also sent warnings. Arya touched the $1 billion that she hadn't even had a chance to warm up, her heart aching so much she could barely breathe. I really want to keep it for myself. Her 5 sisters were so hypocritical. Yesterday they said they wouldn't care about their little brother, and today they were all secretly sending money. Arya sighed as she transferred the money. The Sterling family's bank is so fast, $1 billion in a second. It would be even better if the Sterling family didn't pursue Ethan. After the transfer, she sighed again. I still have to pay it back. Who made me Ethan's sister? On the other side, I was eating when my phone suddenly started vibrating like crazy. Whoa, am I being kept? Chloe, who had just reached the top of the stairs, instantly darkened. I counted the balance, 1,010,000,000. Dr. Quinn looked up in shock. Miss Sterling gave it to you? That's too much spoiling. Sarah facepalmed. Miss Sterling was helping Ethan fill a hole. I blinked. $1 billion to be my sugar mommy? I asked deliberately, should I dump Chloe for $1 billion? Dr. Quinn and Sarah saw Chloe coming downstairs and quickly shoveled a few mouthfuls of food. I asked strangely, what are you guys doing? Before I could finish, Chloe's cold voice sounded in my ear. Is $1 billion a lot? I jumped in fright. Chloe. Chloe stared at me coldly. Is $1 billion a lot? I first nodded, then shook my head vigorously. Chloe's eyes grew even colder. Not much, so you're still going to dump me for $1 billion? I quickly stood up and hugged her. Chloe, you didn't hear me finish. I was going to kick you onto the bed, and then Dr. Quinn and Sarah were dumbfounded. Was this still the same Ethan? A cold aura emanated from Chloe. Chloe, sit down and eat. I quickly pulled her to a seat and kept putting food on her plate, not daring to mention the $1 billion again. Chloe felt it was all very unreal. In the past, Ethan would have definitely told her to get lost and cursed at her, but now he was actually explaining and trying to please her. On the other side, Arya waited for me to call her big sister until she fell asleep, but it never came. Not even a thank you, not even a response. Kim tucked her in. Ethan is such an ungrateful wolf. He took $1 billion and didn't even say thank you. Arya stayed up all night fighting his haters for him, and he doesn't even appreciate it. After dinner, Chloe took me to the study and stood in front of the safe. I looked up and asked, what's up? I knew this safe was important. In my past life, I almost got blown up trying to crack the code. Chloe said, give me your hand. I held out my hand, and Chloe took my thumb and pressed it on the safe. Soon, the machine prompted, fingerprint successful. Welcome, master. From now on, you are its master. All of the Sterling family's assets are in here. I was stunned. This isn't right, is it? Chloe looked at me. I'm already yours. What's a mere 100 billion? Chloe's sweet words made my heart race. Chloe, you're too good at flirting. Chloe frowned. I'm just telling the truth. I hugged Chloe. Chloe, you're too good to me. I love you so much. Those words shot through Chloe's heart like an arrow. I looked down at her. Chloe, can I make a small request? Chloe wanted to refuse, but I immediately cut her off. Don't you dare refuse. Chloe's face turned cold. Let's get this straight. Leaving Sterling Estates is out of the question. I nodded. I just want to go home and see. Chloe's eyes grew colder, like a demon from hell. Chloe, I want to go back. Before I could finish, Chloe turned and walked away. I rushed forward in fear and hugged her from behind. Chloe, don't go. The fear of losing Chloe from my past life washed over me again. Chloe's body was stiff, but she was still stubborn. Ethan, don't think a few kisses will get you out of Sterling Estates. She pushed my arms away. Ethan, don't even think about it. This is your home. The door slammed shut. I ran my hands through my short hair in frustration. Chloe was too stubborn. At the same time, I was annoyed with myself for being too hasty. I should have waited a few days. But thinking about Marcus making a move on Vance Enterprises, I had to go back as soon as possible, or the Vance family would be finished. Clearly, Chloe still didn't trust me and was afraid I would run away. I slumped over the desk, worried. How could I make Chloe trust me quickly? How could I build trust fast? I picked up my phone and started searching. How to make a woman happy. How to make a woman believe a man can't live without her. How to prove a man really loves her. The search results were all the same. Hug her, kiss her, marry her. One particular answer stood out. A woman who uses distrust as an excuse to make demands is just playing games. Be smart about it. This clearly didn't apply to Chloe. I had no choice but to ask my good friend for help. Leo, help. How do I make a woman quickly believe that I love her and won't leave her? Leo joked. First, tell me which damn woman? Chloe Sterling. After 3 minutes of silence, Leo's messages started flooding in, and then a video call came through. Ethan, we promised not to forget each other when we got rich, but you went home to your family and left me in the dust. I laughed and retorted, so are you a dog? Leo barked directly, woof, give me money. We both burst out laughing. Even though we hadn't spoken in a month, we could still joke around without any reservations when we met again. Leo suddenly noticed my face. You finally decided to take off that ugly makeup? He had known me for so long and knew I was deliberately making myself look ugly. He just didn't expect me to take it off after only a month. The power of love is truly great. Leo suddenly remembered something. Wait, isn't your fiancée Isabella? How did you get involved with Chloe? I'm telling you, Isabella is no good. I froze. A month ago, when I had just gotten engaged to Isabella, Leo had said she was a flirt, and I had gotten angry and cut off contact with him. Thinking about how in my past life I had broken off my friendship with Leo because I didn't listen to his advice, and how he had died a tragic death with his killer never found, my nose tingled. Leo, I miss you. Leo shivered. Don't be so cheesy. Hurry up and tell me about your whoever. At that moment, Chloe, at the door, heard, I miss you, and her face instantly darkened. Only when she heard a male voice did her murderous aura gradually subside. Leo asked me seriously, are you really trying to get with Chloe? I looked down. Right now, I'm locked up in Chloe's house. I need to gain her trust so I can go back. Chloe's eyes instantly dimmed, so it was just to go home. I continued, but I will come back to Chloe's side. My 6 sisters would never agree to her taking me by force like this. If you like someone, you should pursue them first, then date and finally get married. Chloe's eyes lit up again. I remembered my regrets with Chloe from my past life. I had never even known what it was like to be in love. Leo quickly interrupted me. Wait, are you really going to pursue Chloe? Outside the door, Chloe was pressed against it, eavesdropping. I nodded seriously. Chloe is the woman I've chosen for this life. Leo laughed helplessly. Do you know Chloe's nickname? I counted on my fingers. The cold-blooded, ruthless, high and mighty queen of hell. Leo advised, since you know, then stop dreaming. I was unconvinced. She liked me first. I'm living at her house now. Leo rolled his eyes. If you want to pursue Chloe, then use the first trick I taught you. I immediately blushed. Isn't that too fast? We haven't even confirmed our relationship yet. Leo tried to scare me. Then you might as well give up. I heard just touching her gets your hand chopped off. Suddenly, the door opened and Chloe strode in. I looked at her in surprise. Chloe, when did you? Leo was still making sarcastic remarks on the video call. If Chloe knew you were after her, wouldn't she kill you? Before he could finish, he saw a woman appear on the screen and kiss me directly. Leo screamed, which woman dares to kiss Ethan? Is it that trashy Isabella? I'm going to. Just then, Chloe let go of me, gave a stiff smile to the camera, and said, hello, I'm Chloe Sterling. Leo, who was about to grab a knife to save me, saw Chloe's beautiful yet murderous face and didn't dare to speak. Chloe continued to smile. I won't hurt Ethan. I'll spoil him. Leo cupped his hands in a gesture of respect. Hello, sorry to bother you, goodbye. With that, he turned and ran. Chloe looked down at me. Your friend. Her voice was icy, her emotions unreadable. I looked at Chloe cautiously. Yeah, don't scare him. What I really wanted to say was, don't go after Leo. Chloe smiled. He seems nice. You can hang out with him, just for saying Isabella was trash. I reached out and took Chloe's hand. Chloe, don't be angry, Before I could finish, Chloe interrupted me. You can go home. I looked up sharply, staring at her in disbelief. Chloe, you're the best. Don't you dare take it back. I was afraid Chloe would be unhappy, so I kissed her on the cheek. The corners of Chloe's mouth turned up slightly. But there are conditions. I smiled at her. Name them. Seeing how happy I was, Chloe couldn't bring herself to say the many conditions she had in mind. In the end, she only said one thing, don't cross my bottom line. This condition was both difficult and simple. Difficult because I didn't know where Chloe's bottom line was, and simple because her bottom line would always change for me. Okay, I happily hugged Chloe. I will definitely not disappoint you. I wanted to make Chloe believe that I truly loved her and would never leave her again. Chloe gave a soft When are you going back? I had originally planned to leave today, but thinking about Chloe's injuries not being fully healed, I said, let's wait until you're a little better. I have to watch over you, otherwise you won't eat or sleep well and you'll get sick again, and I'll be heartbroken. Chloe was already prepared for me to leave today and was surprised to hear me say that. I understood her meaning. I'm just going home for a few days. We'll have to go back when we get married, right? The words, when we get married, put Chloe in a great mood. I hugged her. Chloe, get well soon, so we can have a long future together. Back in the room, I took out my phone and sent a message to Arya on iMessage. Thanks, big sister. When are you free to grab a bite? The message had just been sent when a system notification popped up. You are not yet friends with this person. My sister actually deleted me. Couldn't believe it. The sister who spoiled me the most had actually deleted me as a friend. I called her directly. The first time, no one answered. The second time, it finally went through. A roar came from the other end of the line. Ethan, you troublemaker. Can you stop bothering Arya? I was stunned for a moment, then realized it was Kim, Arya's manager. Although her abilities were average, she was exceptionally good to Arya, so good that in my past life, there were rumors that they were a couple. Kim was hiding in the bathroom, her voice low. You can fool Arya, But you can't fool me. You got into trouble yesterday, and Arya stayed up all night defending you on Twitter. This morning, when she heard you stole the Sterling project, she immediately scraped together $1 billion for you, just because you called her big sister. Kim got angrier as she spoke. And what about you? Not even a thank you, and you framed Arya for plagiarism. You ungrateful wolf. Take your billion and get lost. Don't come back to bother Arya. My ears were ringing from her shouting, but hearing that my sister had stayed up all night fighting for me and scraped together money, my heart warmed. 900 million of that was from our eldest sister, right? For her to be able to come up with that much 5 years ago, the company's finances must have been tight. Kim became alert. You just got the money, and now you're after our eldest sister? I changed the subject. I'm not going to cause trouble for my sister this time. I want to help her write lyrics and compose music. Kim's voice suddenly rose. What? You're gonna write a song for Arya? Do you even know how? I blinked. Of course I do. I'm the world-famous composer, Van. I had studied with my mysterious grandmother since I was a child, mastering everything from music and art to computer technology. My grandmother didn't let me use my real name, so I published my work under the pseudonym Van. Kim sneered. You, Van? When Van was composing, you were still in diapers. I frowned. Not quite. I composed my first piece when I was 5. Kim almost burst out laughing. 5 years old? At 5, you probably couldn't even sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star properly. Being looked down on like this really made me angry. Kim, I really am Van. I'm going to write a song for my sister and make her a global superstar. Kim was so amused by my bragging that she laughed. My dear young master, as long as you don't cause trouble and don't call her big sister, I'll kneel down and call you grandpa. Can we stop bragging? Isn't Arya's reputation bad enough? You writing a song. Noticing the sudden silence on the other end of the line, Kim got a little flustered. This was Arya's precious treasure. If I really got angry, she would be in the hospital tomorrow. Kim quickly changed her tune. Fine, I'll call you young master, okay? Just stay away from Arya and don't call her big sister. I took a deep breath and decided not to argue with this loyal assistant. Put my sister on the phone. She'll believe me. Kim refused directly. Just be your young master, don't be some Van. If you say another word, I'll block you. With that, she hung up. Looking at the phone, Kim ultimately couldn't bring herself to block me. If it weren't for you, you troublemaker, Arya would have been a superstar long ago. I stared at my phone in frustration. Why does no one believe the truth these days? Fine, I'll write the song first and show it to my sister when I see her. I sat at the desk with my eyes closed, my fingers tapping lightly on the surface. It seemed random, but anyone who knew music would be shocked. The tapping held an astonishing sense of rhythm. Perhaps only when someone sang this song would people understand its brilliance. Chloe was leaning against the door at some point. When I opened my eyes and saw her, my eyes curved into a smile. Chloe, does it sound good? Chloe nodded seriously. I was tapping so lightly that Chloe couldn't possibly have heard it, yet she lied without batting an eye. I looked at Chloe. Did you deal with that bastard from the bar yesterday? Chloe lowered her eyes. No, the woman who dared to covet Ethan had met a terrible end, but she didn't want Ethan to know how cruel she could be. I glanced at Chloe's fingers. Let her rot in prison. Chloe nodded. Okay. I suddenly wrapped my arms around her slender waist. Chloe, you were a good girl and slept last night, right? Do I owe you a few kisses? Chloe's body stiffened slightly in my arms. Then the familiar, reassuring softness completely relaxed. She didn't turn around, but a suspicious blush crept up her ears. Her voice was still cool, but it held a hint of imperceptible shyness. You owe me more than just a few. I chuckled softly, resting my chin on her shoulder, my warm breath brushing against her neck. I could feel her subtle shiver, which filled my heart with endless affection and satisfaction. Since being reborn, my greatest achievement was perhaps teaching this iceberg how to melt for me. All right then, I said, turning her to face me, my fingertips gently caressing her cool lips. From now on, I'll pay you back slowly with interest. I leaned down and kissed her. This kiss was different from the previous ones, which were domineering and probing. This one was full of cherish and tenderness. I patiently traced the shape of her lips, feeling her inexperience and her response. She closed her eyes, her long eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. Her hands nervously clutched my clothes, moving from initial uncertainty to gradually sinking into the moment. When the kiss ended, she leaned against my chest, her breathing slightly ragged. Her eyes, usually as cold as frost, were now shimmering with moisture, as if filled with a river of stars. Ethan, she said softly, I've already had Sarah handle the Willow Creek project. The $1 billion your sister paid for you has also been returned. My heart warmed. I had almost forgotten about my sisters, who always said they wouldn't care about me but were the first to scrape together money when I was in trouble. Especially my eldest sister, Victoria, the acting CEO of Vance Enterprises. 5 years ago, the company's finances were already tight. For her to come up with $900 million, she must have paid a huge price. Chloe, thank you, I said sincerely. She shook her head, looked up at me, her eyes serious. Between us, there's no need for thanks. My heart stirred, and I took her hand. I want to go see them and explain everything in person. In my past life, I was deceived by Marcus and turned against my sisters, even personally pushing them into desperate situations. In this life, I would not repeat the same mistakes. Chloe's eyes flickered for a moment. I could see her hesitation, the instinctive fear of me leaving. But in the end, she just nodded and said softly, "Okay, I'll go with you." This trust moved me more than any sweet words. 2 days later, under Chloe's arrangement, I met with my 6 sisters at Sterling Estates. Watching them get out of their cars one by one, each with their own unique style, but all carrying an innate pride and distance, my eyes couldn't help but well up. My eldest sister, Victoria, was in a sharp suit, her presence powerful. My second sister, Evelyn, wore gold-rimmed glasses and exuded a scholarly elegance. My third sister, Clara, was a top lawyer in the country, her eyes as sharp as a knife. My fourth sister, Olivia, was an internationally renowned artist with an ethereal air. My fifth sister, Maya, was a dancer with a graceful figure. And then there was my infamous top celebrity cousin, Arya. When they saw Chloe by my side, a flash of surprise crossed their eyes, but it was mostly a look of scrutiny for me, the troublemaker. "Just say it. What trouble have you caused this time that requires Miss Sterling's intervention?" Victoria spoke first, her tone icy. I took a deep breath, didn't argue, and instead bowed deeply to them. "I'm sorry." This bow stunned everyone. "I'm sorry. In my past life, before I was a bastard, I was blinded, trusted the wrong people, and hurt you. From now on, it won't happen again." I looked up, my gaze sweeping over each of them. Vance Enterprises was our mother's life's work. I will not let Marcus and Julian touch a single bit of it. I will take back everything that belongs to us. My sisters looked at each other, clearly bewildered by my sudden change. Arya was the first to react, pouting her lips. "Easy for you to say. How are you going to take it back? Are you going to ask us for money again?" "No." I shook my head and looked at Chloe beside me. She gave me an encouraging look. "This time, I'll do it my way." At that meeting, I laid out the whole conspiracy of Marcus and his son, and the greed of the Hayes family. Although my sisters were skeptical, seeing my unprecedented seriousness and Chloe's firm support, they ultimately chose to trust me for the time being. Once the seed of trust was planted, it began to sprout. Chloe also seemed to want me to know her better. That night, she took me to her study, a forbidden place that no one but her and Sarah had ever entered. The study was large, with one wall covered by a floor-to-ceiling bookshelf and the other adorned with several paintings. My attention was drawn to a dusty rosewood box on the desk. "What's this?" I asked curiously. A rare hint of awkwardness appeared on Chloe's face. She walked over and gently opened the box. Just some worthless little things. There were no jewels in the box, only a few yellowed photos, a faded butterfly hairpin, and a jade pendant worn smooth. When I saw the jade pendant, I felt as if I had been struck by lightning, my blood instantly freezing. It was an ordinary piece of white jade, but on it was a crookedly carved Chloe in a childish hand. My breath caught in my throat. With a trembling hand, I picked up the jade pendant, and all the fragmented memories of my past and present lives began to frantically intertwine and reassemble in my mind. Where did this come from? My voice was so hoarse it didn't sound like my own. Chloe lowered her head, her voice as soft as a dream. "I found it by a river in the countryside, many years ago. By a river in the countryside." I closed my eyes, and dusty memories flooded back like a tide. I was 8 years old that year. I was playing and fell into the water. The cold river engulfed me, and my consciousness gradually faded. Just as I thought I was going to die, a pair of thin but strong hands grabbed me and pulled me to the shore with all their might. I coughed up water, and in my blurry vision, I could only see a little girl in a faded white dress. She was soaked to the bone, her face pale, and she looked at me without a word, her eyes like a lonely universe. I asked her name, but she just shook her head and ran away. I only had time to pick up this engraved jade pendant from her pocket as she hurried away. From then on, I held the savior firmly in my heart. After returning to the Vance family, Isabella somehow heard about this and forged a similar jade pendant, claiming she was the one who saved me. Young and naive, I believed her, giving her all my gratitude and trust, while completely forgetting my true savior. So it was her. It had always been her. I snapped my eyes open and stared at Chloe, a sharp pain shooting through my chest, a pain of endless regret and heartache. I'm such an idiot. What have I done? In my past life, for a liar, I had hurt the woman who protected me with her life, hurt her beyond repair. Why didn't you tell me? I grabbed her shoulders, my grip so tight it made her frown. Chloe was startled by my reaction. A flash of panic crossed her eyes, and then she confessed. Back then, I wasn't very good at talking, and later you had someone else by your side, so I thought it was enough to just watch you from a distance. Watching me from a distance. So, her almost obsessive love for me wasn't without reason. It was a silent protection that had lasted for over a decade, spanning 2 lifetimes. I couldn't control myself anymore and pulled her tightly into my arms, my grip so strong it felt like I was trying to merge her into my very bones. I'm sorry, Chloe. I'm sorry. 1,000 words, but in the end, only those 3 came out. What I owed her was more than just an apology. She hugged me back gently in my arms and said softly, Ethan, you have nothing to be sorry for. In that moment, the last trace of distance between us vanished. I held her face and kissed her deeply, a kiss filled with the ecstatic joy of finding what was lost and a bone deep cherish. After the truth came out, there were no more barriers between Chloe and me. I told my sisters about it, and after their initial shock, they completely accepted Chloe. With the full support of my sisters, our counterattack plan officially began. My eldest sister used her business connections to start targeting the company shares controlled by Marcus from the outside. My third sister assembled a top-tier legal team and began collecting evidence of Marcus and his son's embezzlement of Vance Enterprises' assets. As for me, I focused my biggest suspicion on the cause of my mother's death. In my past life, I had always believed my mother died from overwork. But now that I thought about it, in the period before her death, Marcus had been overly attentive. He always personally prepared her medicine, not letting anyone else help. I told my second sister, Evelyn, about this suspicion. She was an expert in the field of biomedical science. She used her connections to find the family doctor who had treated my mother back then. That doctor had long been bought off by Marcus with a large sum of money and sent abroad. But under my second sister's combination of soft and hard tactics, he finally revealed the truth. Marcus had been adding a slow-acting poison to my mother's medicine for a long time, which, over time, led to her organ failure and death. When I got the doctor's signed confession and the medication records from that year, I was ice-cold, my killing intent boiling. Our actions proceeded in an orderly manner. Marcus and his son were beaten back at every turn. Their stock prices plummeted, their capital chain broke, and they were plagued by scandals. Just as we were about to close the net and take them to court, a desperate Julian made the most foolish move. He kidnapped Leo. I was discussing the next steps with Chloe when I received the call about Leo's kidnapping. On the phone, Julian's voice was frantic. Ethan, bring all the share transfer documents for Vance Enterprises and come to the abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city alone. Otherwise, you can wait to collect your best friend's body. Chloe immediately wanted to mobilize the bodyguards, but I stopped her. Chloe, trust me. I looked into her eyes. This time, it's my turn to protect you. I closed my eyes and sent out my consciousness. The ability to communicate with animals that I had gained after being reborn played a crucial role at this moment. My friends in the city, do me a favor. Soon, countless pieces of information from various channels flooded into my mind. A pigeon flying over an overpass saw Julian's black car. A rat hiding in the factory's ventilation duct heard the conversation between Leo and Julian. A sparrow perched on a window outside described the layout of the factory's interior to me. I pinpointed Leo's location precisely. I didn't call the police, nor did I bring a large group of people. I only brought a few top bodyguards sent by my sisters and, together with Chloe, silently surrounded the abandoned factory. Inside the factory, Leo was tied to a chair, and Julian held a knife to his neck, his face contorted with rage. Ethan, you're finally here. He saw me walk in alone and laughed maniacally. You can't beat me. Vance Enterprises is mine. The Vance family is mine. I looked at him coldly, as if watching a clown. Julian, do you think you've won? I clapped my hands. The factory doors were kicked open, and fully armed bodyguards poured in. At the same time, my third sister, Clara, appeared at the door with the police and a legal team. Julian's face changed drastically. He held Leo hostage and roared, bluffing, "Don't come any closer. If you do, I'll kill him. Is that so?" I slowly took a document from my pocket and threw it in front of him. Take a look at this. Dr. Liu, who treated my mother back then, has confessed everything. murder, commercial fraud, kidnapping, and extortion. Julian, you and your good father can prepare to spend the rest of your lives in prison." Julian looked at the confession and completely broke down. He dropped the knife and collapsed to the ground, and the few men around him, who we had already turned, immediately moved in to subdue him. After Leo was rescued, he rushed over, punched me, and then hugged me tightly. "You punk, you scared me to death." I smiled and patted his back. In my past life, he died because of me. In this life, I finally protected him. The dust settled. Marcus and Julian were convicted of multiple felonies and sentenced to life in prison. The Hayes family, as accomplices, also went bankrupt. After losing everything, Isabella had a mental breakdown and was sent to a sanatorium. A few months later, under the joint management of my sisters and me, Vance Enterprises was back on track, even more prosperous than before. That day was the anniversary of my mother's death. I took Chloe to the cemetery. On the tombstone, my mother smiled gently and kindly. I placed a bouquet of her favorite white orchids and said softly, "Mom, I've protected the Vance family, and I've also found someone worth loving for a lifetime. May you rest in peace." After I finished, I turned around. Chloe stood quietly not far away, the afternoon sun filtering through the leaves, casting dappled light on her, as beautiful as a painting. I walked towards her step by step, stood in front of her, and pulled her tightly into my arms. "Chloe, thank you." She shook her head in my arms. I held her face and looked into her eyes. In them, I saw the familiar coolness, but also a tenderness that was reserved only for me. I said, word by word, with utmost seriousness, "Thank you for appearing in both of my lives." Her eyes reddened, and she didn't speak, but simply stood on her tiptoes and met my lips with her own. This kiss was without probing or shyness, only a love and peace that ran bone deep. The sun was warm, and the breeze was gentle. It felt as if we held each other's entire world and an eternal future. I knew that from this moment on, our fateful entanglement had finally transformed into the most perfect redemption.